Welcome one, welcome all to the CGL, not the mainstream, I almost said the mainstream. Welcome to the CGL B-stream with me, K-Wing, and the one, the only Willow. We're here with quite a treat for you. We're here with the NA Rising Division. I know it says NA Open Division down at that lower third, but trust in me, we've made a bit of an oopsie-doopsie, but that is okay. And we've got some really interesting teams here, and I'm excited to take us through it.
I, obviously, being sort of native to the Rising series, am very excited to see this all the time. As soon as they realized they had the production value for this as well, like the budget, I got on Tiny Shiny and was like, let me do this. Let me do the Rising series. I want to do it. This is a rare opportunity for me to cast and roast my teammates, and also to watch the Rising series give all it has to offer. I'm very excited for today. There was a lot of roster mania within the Rising Court, just trying to get everything set up at the last possible moment. So I'm interested to see what these teams have cooked. From my understanding, basically only Kaiju Court has a real roster. Only Kaiju Core MX is like an actual team with people who have played on it consistently, with people who aren't off-rolling all the time. Here we can see, this is the roster and the team that have honestly performed really consistently throughout the Calling All Heroes Rising series, and Kunoichi as well. They just seem to be probably the most coordinated, I think, of all the teams, and I think the experience that they have in playing together for a pretty long time means that it just gives them a little bit of an edge over those teams that are coming in, maybe a little bit less familiar. Wimihai, actually, that we saw earlier today, was also originally a player on Kaiju Core MX, so there's, a few players on here who have actually made the break, leaving the Rising series in general, trying to push towards Open. Salt and Saturn, the last time we saw them, they both just destroyed, honestly. The both of them just had a phenomenal game. It was really nice to see. Felix has been a mainstay of the Rising series for basically since its inception at this point, and Tangerine and Sandbox as well, having been here a really long time. So this roster has experience in a number of tournaments throughout the Rising circuit, and have played together as a team for a really long time. In terms of just sheer experience they have, this is, to me, the team to beat.
Completely. And also, I do want to bring in a bit of knowledge on one of these members. Tangerine also has experience not just as a player, but as formerly as broadcast talent. I actually have casted a few times with Tangerine a while back, I think before your time, though, because I'm old. Anyway, we're going into their opponent against the highly favored Kaiju Core MX. We have Orion OW, and you told me a little bit about this team and about, you were talking about a bit of roster mania as we're seeing here these two DPS. You told me something interesting about these two DPS and a bit of role lock.
Well, the DPS themselves are kind of fine. Sori is the hitscan player for Lava Lilies Rising. Lai is one of the flex DPS, myself being the other. So I get to roast the two of them here now, and it's very exciting for me. The real kind of interesting area shifts as we go further towards the right. Mothfear on the main support is sensible. That is the role that they play. They are kind of a Lucio Brig specialist in that regard. But then you get Cozy, who is also the former main support, and probably as soon as they come back, current main support for UD Phoenix's Rising Series team, and then Shy, who is UD Phoenix's hitscan. So essentially what this roster is a hitscan, a flex DPS, a main support, a hitscan DPS, and another main support. This team has no tank player, no flex support player. They are just trying to figure it out as they go along, which I think will make for a very interesting style of play overall. It was actually, I believe, Shy who was starting out on the tank originally as well, and Cozy who was on the flex support, and then they realized that wasn't working. I saw some of those scrims and they decided, nope, we're moving away from this one, we're going to figure something else out entirely. So frankly, I don't see this being a huge hurdle for Kaiju Core to have to cross, but if this lineup of genuinely two people who are off-rolling, where there is no tank player and no flexible player, is able to really give Kaiju Core a good run for their money, I think that sets a decent standard for the other teams who, whilst maybe have been a little affected by roster mania, do have people who can play each of the roles that they're actually going to be playing.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of where they're going to be playing, we've got our first map's going to be Antarctic Peninsula. We got a 1st to 2, so the walls are pretty tight for this particular match. You've got only really one map of wiggle room, one map that you can drop as a team before you're in quite a bit of trouble. So each map becomes way more important versus your normal 1st to 3, and each map becomes just that much more really influential, especially control, especially when you're talking Antarctic Peninsula, which we've seen already today in EU Open.
Yeah, we're borrowing the map pool from our Open division as well, so we're going to have the set maps. It's going to go Antarctic Peninsula, then onto Oasis, and I believe Nepal for round 3 as well. Yeah. And then our 4th round will be going over to Ilios. So it'll give teams a little bit of time to kind of figure out which maps they're good for in terms of control and show off their various skill sets. In particular, this is going to be of note for the Rising Series because it's just qualifiers today, playoffs tomorrow. You don't make the cut. It's too bad. See you later. It is really important for these teams, I believe there's 5 now in the Rising Series, to make sure that they're able to bring their best, because honestly, whilst Kaiju Corps kind of stand at the top as being a team with actual people for each of their roles and have played together consistently with this lineup, when we look at their competition, the 4 other teams are all kind of in the similar position of either being affected by roster mania or perhaps punching up a little bit compared to their opponents. So I think we're in a really interesting spot of which of these 4 teams is going to be the one that doesn't make it. Kaiju Corps, we can almost infinitely expect it going to be qualifying for that playoffs bracket, but one of their 4 opponents isn't going to be making it out of today. So at the end of this, we'll see just kind of who's going to be that team that's struggling to cross the finish line.
And as we load into Antarctic Peninsula, I got a little glimpse of our observer setup, and we had not 1 but 2 cameras on the Penguins. Obviously, our ducks all in a row. Our priorities are set here, and we've got 2 very different takes on what these teams want to play here. We have a Ramatra composition, and we have a Sigma composition coming out of Orion. Which of these 2 compositions do you think is going to have more of an advantage here?
I mean, Lilox is playing Mei just because I know that Lai's bad at Mei and they want to make me upset at watching bad Mei play. Shai probably should be starting on the Baptiste as well rather than the Kiriko. I think that Kaiju Corps just have a significant brawl advantage compared to Orion. So if they can just play for their brawl condition and kind of land a little bit of poke damage in with this Tracer ahead of time, they just get a free easy fight win every single time.
Sorry, going to be the first picked off this Tracer of Saturn, jumping into the back line, already taking a great off angle with this Kiriko of Tangerine, as now Orion forced to back off immediately.
I think that this is an exploitable composition that Kaiju Corps are running. The lack of a Mei does mean that it's difficult for them to be able to close distances, and with them running a Casti as well, with the damage drop-off change, Orion can try and out-poke here, but they have to play very slow, and Lilox has to land these walls to be able to isolate targets, or the Icicles to just pick them off.
As Sandbox Dad going to be the first to go down, but Sorry and Lilac both in a bit of trouble, and only one can be saved as Sorry first picked again. But Orion still pushing in aggressively with this Mei as the tip of that spear. Here comes Saturn on the off angle, looking for the Lucio, putting in some damage, has a pulse bomb ready and waiting, looking for Shai, dishing in some damage, but can't find the kill confirm as Mothia gonna go down, and Kaiju Corps will still win in the end. Felix Felicis getting 2 off the back of it, and just a little bit of waiting for Cozy. Going to stagger themselves a bit.
Yeah, a little bit of a stagger onto Cozy. That was really nicely done from Kaiju Corps. It's actually something you don't tend to see from Rising Series teams as an acknowledgement of when they can stagger someone out. The Sigma in particular doesn't really have many options. Cozy probably should have gone for just the rock accretion self-damage there, if nothing else. But nevertheless, Kaiju Corps going to be able to come into this fight with Pulse Bomb early on. Orion have actually been able to poke up to both the Blizzard, the Gravitic Flux, and the Kitsune Rush ahead of Tangerine. So they do have a condition here. It's just not the one they want to play for. Brawl isn't their strong suit.
Ooh, especially they've lost that win condition. It's already gone, and now they can't even turn to look at Saturn that much. They got to deal with the Deadeye. They got to deal with all these ults at the front, and Felix Felicis is going to be running rampant through their back line.
It feels like a little bit of overkill. The Deadeye just entirely unnecessary. The Annihilation simply enough to make it work. Orion now have the opportunity to touch. It's only like 5% that they have, but Kaiju Core still get to go first with their Kitsune Rush.
Oh, the Ravenous Vortex and the Magnetic Grenade. No one... Oh, we do get one touch, but everyone just dies as they walk toward. And even the Blizzard is just not going to do much for Orion. It is 100-0 for Kaiju Core.
Orion just weren't really playing for the condition that they needed to play for, right? They're trying to poke in, but they're playing short every single fight. I would have preferred to see a rotation around the long side of Icebreaker so that they would be able to poke in a little bit longer. Their rotations are inevitably going to be matched by Sandbox God and Felix on the Lucio Ram, but when you've got the Mei as well, you can kind of punish anyone who's trying to hold an off angle. Tangerine, being on the Kiriko, is not someone who likes to be close range at the moment. You haven't got quite the same ease of being able to like engage in the brawl and the dive as you used to on that hero. So that is exploitable if Lilock is able to hit a nice wall, just isolate people out with the Mei. That's really what you need to be seeing from a Mei player. But unfortunately, Orion just keep running it down on the short angle, trying to play for a brawl every single time, and that's where the Ramattra just gets to come into their own, and where a Tracer who can take an uncontested off angle just gets to pick apart your team each fight.
Orion now on the Orisa. An interesting play. Orisa did get some of those buffs, as did all tanks in that recent patch, the headshot sphere being among the most notable, as now there goes big cooldowns out of Cozy, and Kaiju Core gonna absolutely collapse on top of that and take out Cozy immediately. They saw the Javelin spin, they saw the gold, and then they knew that their opportunity was there, and they absolutely took it.
And this is the pain point of having players who are unfamiliar on their roles. Cozy, the main support player, moving over to Orisa, who, despite being a relatively simplistic main tank previously, actually has some decent cooldown cycles that you do have to be disciplined with nowadays. So yeah, actually going to be moving over to the Ramattra, a little bit more difficult to punish. Kind of just, if you're in a bad situation, pop Nemesis form and hold M2 and you'll be okay-ish. Lilock going over to the Tracer as well, which is their own signature hero. I think this composition looks more comfortable for them, but they had to give up the point just to get you in the first place.
That they did. Now Cozy having to take the Ram 1v1, having to take the boxing match. Salt, though, going to be the first to fall. Ulysses taking a bit of damage, but there you go, holding M2, and going to be all right. A big headshot onto Sandbox God. Kaiju Core have had their legs taken out from under them, as now the Ramatra's dueling once again. They need to try and pressure Tangerine off this high ground, as Sari's getting run down. Pulse Bomb thrown in, barely staying alive as Sari just ducking and weaving through everything. Saturn gone. Sari really on a tear here for Orion, but the point's still ticking up for Kaiju Core. Oh, the Deadeye can't land onto Sandbox God. It had the skull, able to dart behind cover. Felix Ulysses now just pops the ult, and it's going to be curtains for Orion. They take the point, but 7%, they would have wanted so much more.
I mean, you got ults out at least, the Kitsune Rush and the Annihilation coming from Kaiju Core. You traded a Deadeye for it. It's not the worst in the world, but honestly, that was just really slow, sloppy cleanup from Orion. They basically won that fight at about 20-30% on the objective, and then had to stay there until about 50-60 before they were able to get the cap. They have to be quicker than that if they want to be able to flip this and turn the series.
Now rolling out. Oh, sorry, in a bit of trouble against Saturn in the back. Kitsune Rush thrown in. Deadeye just used to zone it out. Shy in trouble. Saturn there to clean it up. And that's the cleanup that we were looking for. On the wrong end, though, is Cozy gonna have to use the ult. They have to just push in here, beat Pulse Bomb and Annihilation, all used one on top of the other on top of the other. And it's just gonna be Salt and the members of Kaiju Core MX taking a solid map 1 and a dominant performance, nearly 200-0, as that is map 1 to Kaiju Core.
Orion, I feel like they're still figuring out what kinds of compositions they actually want to be playing in the first place. Starting out on something like a Mei and then going over to like a Tracer Cassidy. We saw some Orisa, we saw some Sigma, we saw some Ram. It just speaks of a team that is still trying to find its footing, which makes sense, considering this is one of those roster mania affected teams that is still trying to find itself, figure out what its identity within the meta is going to be. But this late in the game where, you know, there's only 2 days left, right? There's today and there's tomorrow, and then that's it, tournament done. There really isn't a lot of time left for you to be able to figure this out. if there's any consolation, it's you're going against what is likely going to be your most difficult opponent in your first round match, right? Straight away, you're going to be having a metric for who is the one to beat. If you are able to get even any kind of footing here in this series, it's something you can work on, right? Conversely, if you find that you can't get any footing here, you know what doesn't work, at least, right? It's the 1,000 ways to make, like, 1,000 wrong ways to make a light bulb. You've got at least some of the answers there. You've built some of the foundation for figuring out what the correct way to approach this is going to be. It's just a matter of actually getting there in the first place. I think if Orion want to really be competitive in this series, they need to start looking towards maps that are going to play towards Liloct and Sorry's strengths in particular. We saw there that when Sorry is uncontested, they are able to just click heads, and Liloct, we know, is able to just tear through on the Tracer, is a competent Genji player as well. Overall, can run like the Echo, not Pharah at all. But the Echo is there as an option for Liloct too. So these DPS players for Orion are flexible. They can go for whatever they want, but it is just a pain point of Cozy and Shy, who are off-rolling and going to be struggling a little bit to figure out what it is they want to run to enable the rest of their team to really shine.
And that's just the struggle in the end, is that you can see the skill on these players. And even with Cozy, even with Shy, who are, as you said, off-rolling, you can tell that they know what they need to be doing. They had fairly good ult economy and had, at multiple times, a lot of good advantageous positions, but they never really were able to make those positions stick. The planning was there. The execution was a bit of a struggle, so they'll have to try something new, and I'm a bit interested in this choice and what it might mean, because we're going to what could be the last map of the series because of that first to two, Hollywood.
I like Hollywood. Sorry is also a good Tracer player. I think that in general, Liloct is probably the one that you'd want if you are 100% running a Tracer. However, in the setup where you can run now something like a Tracer Ashe on defense, stick Sorry on the Ashe and Liloct on the Tracer, and then a Tracer Echo on the attack where you have Liloct on the Echo instead, I think this gives a lot of options for what kinds of dive compositions you want to be able to play around. And I think as well it's going to be perhaps a little bit more into Cozy's field, who I believe, I mean, they've got Ball mentioned as their most comfortable tank, but maybe is just a little bit more comfortable with dive overall. I think Shy as well is a typical hit scan player, right? Is going to be more familiar with things like the Ana, who is just like a fun hero to play at this elo. So I think for Orion, this spells like either like a Diva, Ana, or like a Ball Winston kind of look maybe from Cozy and Shy, whilst Sorry and Liloct basically just get to play like Echo Tracer, Tracer Ashe, and look good doing that. If there's any uncomfortable aspect, it's going to be the fact that Felix is a good Diva player and also a pretty decent Sigma player, so playing either into a counter dive or a poke composition, it's going to be difficult for Sorry and Liloct to find the sheer amount of purchase that they're going to need to carry through the remaining members of their team. I think for Orion, this could be really good if they're able to cook a little bit, but we'll have to see what they actually roll out on in lobby.
That we will. We do have one substitution coming through, as you saw on your screens. Hala can't aim, jumping in on that main support role for Kaiju Core MX, looking for that Brig player, is what it seems for Kaiju Core, as now you've got, I think, your basic level dive composition coming out of Kaiju Core MX. I mean, this is 2016 level dive.
This is a very comfortable composition for Kaiju Core. Hollow can't aim is the starting main support and has been historically for Kaiju Core, so you can expect them to play either the Brig or the Lucio. Saturn and Felix, both very comfortable on the Genji and Winston. Saturn was basically shoehorning Kaiju Core into functionally being a Genji one-trick team for a while, just because of how good they were at the hero compared to any other competition that they were facing in Rising. So for Kaiju Core, this is exactly what they'd want to be running. Orion functionally mirroring, but with the Kiri Lucio rather than the Ana Brig, I don't dislike, but it's really going to stretch Liloct and Sorry, who, again, needs to be the ones who are doing the majority of the legwork in this team for Orion, but are going to be matched by very competent players of Saturn and Salt on the mirror.
Yeah, it's almost a complete mirror except for that back line, and that's the big split there, as there goes Cozy diving in very effectively. Tangerine gonna be the first to fall, and these other supports might not be soon to follow. There you go, Hollow can't aim down. A lot of trades in. It's Saturn Felix against Cozy. Cozy only, it's just not enough. Close, but no cigar.
And that's what I mean when I say that, you know, this team was a functionally Genji one-trick team. Saturn just kills 4 in that fight, and 46% towards Blade already. Lilocked in the mirror, 22% at the moment. It's not necessarily even that one Genji is significantly better than the other, it's that the inexperience of the other roles comparatively is just going to make Saturn's life significantly easier. Orion have got a difficult fight in for them, even if they're able to execute a clean dive like they were.
Yeah, and they were able to get a clean dive. Like, there's hope for this team as the Tracer 1v1 already kicking off. Salt and Sorry, either one getting the upper edge over the other. Lilocked in a bit of trouble against the Winston dive, but no picks coming through just yet. Oh, Cozy in very deep with the Tracer, and Cozy's gonna go down. Tangerine, though, will get taken out, but Saturn's there. The pressure's there, and I mean, Kaiju Core MX, they're able to take these late fight wins.
Yeah, Orion are just diving a little bit too deep too early. They're not staging around these dive conditions they're looking for. They're just going on the backline straight away. And it means that Tangerine and Hollow can either just speed amp away or step out with the Kiriko and then just leave casually with the Lucio. Orion need to be a little bit more procedural in the way that they're taking space. We saw Salt have the recall get forced early, and happens again here. But we're not seeing Orion actually force the Tracer away. They're just running in.
Felix popping the Primal Rage early. Cozy switching on to the Diva. Someone looking to try and counter out this Winston with that dive potential. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of success with it, but Saturn finding that first pick. No more Lucio for Orion, no more beat. In fact, as the fight continues on, we're having a bit of trouble here on my side of the stream, but Hollow can't aim, throwing out this beat, and Willow, I'm losing some connection.
Yeah, I will admit, I have 2. I believe the Sound Barrier came out from Hollow can't aim to counter out Lilock's Blade. Sound Barrier to match as well from Mothia later on in the fight. It looks like Orion are slowly starting to claw their way, but we, yeah, tech issues moment. We we got a little bit of a rainbow towards the latter half of that fight. It looks like Orion was starting to be able to try and turn it around, though, which was kind of exciting. If you can just stack ultimates on a hybrid point like this, it does usually guarantee that you're going to be able to cap first, but they were down to less than a minute, so before we can confidently say whether they won or not, we'll probably have to see the full conclusion of that. Forcing the Primal out early alongside the Pulse as well was really good. Kaiju Core kind of jumped the gun a little bit, and it should mean that Orion are able to turn the tempo on them. From the little glimpse we just got in the preview, it looked like they did at least, but who's to really say? Yeah. We can't see anything.
They did end up getting the point capture in the end. It's tough to exactly say what's happening there, but I believe we're probably going to have a touch of tech pause, and then we're gonna have a quick break. But when we come back, we do have Orion capturing the first point on Hollywood. They've got to go into the streets phase. It's a difficult time and a difficult process, so we'll have to see if they're up to the task. Otherwise, Kaiju Core might take this in dominant fashion once again. So don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back once we get this stuff working. See you there.
Cash and the ticket is yours.
Well, we finally got it fixed. Our producer tells me that we had an issue with our SRT. Now, that's a series of letters that's a bit too complicated for my teeny weeny caster brain, but apparently we were having some issues with it. Don't know what it is, but it's fixed now. So thank you for sticking with us. We do have a clean idea. Orion with 2 minutes 59 seconds on the clock just captured point A, moving into the streets phase.
It looks like they had about 30 seconds left when they finally were able to full cap first point. Kaiju Core, it looks like blew every ultimate. Felix actually now on the Diva as we go back in. No ultimates around except for Salt, about 70-80% on the Tracer Pulse Bomb. So Ryan also seemed to trade pretty much everything that they had in the bank too. Sorry. Going to be sticking on the Cassidy. I don't hate this as well. Lilacs, Genji able to mirror at the moment. I think if you can just like hold Salt at bay with the cast, that's fine, but you can't go first now is the problem. You're playing a composition that's a little bit too slow, like the Genji wants to, but also, yeah, you don't have something like the Trace to be able to force second either. I think you're just going to be struggling into Kaiju Core's defensive position when they can just sit here and spam into you as much as they want, find the poke damage for Saturn to be able to follow up, and then also know that you can't easily engage onto them with either the Tracer or the Echo or anything that would like to punish them for taking all these angles.
And it's it happened almost exactly as he said it, as both Orion, as both Lilacs and Salt just having a little bit of silly. And then, hey, she's over there. There you go. I think to blink away into just the ether as Kaiju Core taking those defensive positions. And like you said, they're able to play a bit faster than as the Genji would want, but they're going to lose Salt. The Tracer 1v1 finally going Orion's way, and high ground control completely ceded to Orion. They're now going to have a big advantage in this fight. Nearly at this blade for Orion, pulls it out almost immediately. Even trade there, gonna get the Lucio, dashes right into the wall, but there comes the blade from Saturn. This Genji one trick we were talking about, gonna take out Shy. High value target, nearly takes out the other Genji. Still holding on, but Lilac gonna get taken down by Salt in the end. And Kaiju Core MX still hold on. Diva Bomb, although on point, two left for Kaiju Core. Part of 3. So they're starting to push back onto point, getting some respawns in, but so are Orion. This fight a lot more even than originally appeared. Beat, bomb, ults flying left and right, but Felix Felicis is going to be coming out on top of that with a triple kill bomb right on the payload. That's Kaiju Core with a solid team kill.
You could call it the quadruple bomb. That did not escape me, sorry. I saw you try and pulse the baby diva, miss, and then recall into your own pulse bomb. You're not getting away from that easily. We're putting that one in the next Lowlights compilation. Now Orion completely out of ultimates. They've got the sound barrier to try and match Tangerine's Kitsune Rush, but Salt gets to go first with the pulse bomb yet again, and as Orion push onto the high ground, they're already so low.
So low, Shy gonna get taken down. That pulse bomb dealing a bunch of damage to Cozy and a bit of splash to Lilac as well. Lilac's getting taken down, Cozy as well. And there you go, the beat thrown in from Mothia just to keep up these two on the card, the Lucio and the Tracer. And they can go pretty fast, but they cannot escape what's coming, which is the end of round 1. 67 meters isn't horrible for a push for Orion, but he really wanted more. The stackers are still going to come in from this Doomfist, but it won't budge the cart a gosh darned inch. 67 meters is where it will lie, and that'll be it. It's all Orion has to defend. It's not a big push.
I think that Orion are just playing at a really weird tempo, and it's not helping them. They're going fast when they want to be going slow, and then not following up cleanly to try and like make the most of kills. When they got the high ground advantage and then just kind of all dropped, Shy somehow gets caught around the mega area by Saturn's blade. Like, why is the Kiriko even down there? The Kiriko can just sit on high ground and be firing in those Afuda from afar. You know, if the Genji goes up high, has to be able to either dash or slowly wall climb to get there. I feel like there's just a lot of options where Orion were able to play the opposite of how they were, and it would have gone fine, but they're pulling the gun too early in instances where they need to be chilling, and then at the same time, they're chilling in times when they desperately need them to clean up the fight. It's just kind of been an awkward situation for them, I think, in trying to figure out the pace that they want to be playing at. And I feel like a lot of it can be attributed to the fact that this is a team of people who kind of just mishmashed from 3 other teams, Mothvia being from Fruit Salad, Shy and Cozy from UD Phoenix, and then Lilac and Sorry from Lava Lilies Rising. It's just going to be difficult for these players to come together, essentially day of tournament, and all be on the same page as one another, especially with 2 of them off-rolling as well. From Kaiju Core, though, it's just business as usual. This is their most comfortable potential lineup on the usual heroes that they like to play, back to good old times. Maybe they took a break for Minor 1, but they're here, and they're back to come swinging. Orion have to be careful, even if they're going to be starting out on a more meta composition. It'll work for now, but eventually Kaiju Core will recognize it and just chill a little bit. I don't imagine you're going to be getting infinite value from this. If you can full hold 4 minutes, I'll be very impressed.
I'd be very impressed as well. Sorry on the Ashe is something that I really like. But the Diva, the Genji is gonna make this Ashe play a lot harder, especially that Diva is now gonna be jumping right on top of Orion. They have to partially see this high ground, and you can see just how much Felix is chasing down Sorry to the point of almost feeding. There goes the dive right on top of the healers, and the splash that Salt's getting, taking Orion so incredibly low. Barely staying alive here. Salt burning but stays alive. Sorry, gone. Now a 4v5 for Orion. Lilac needs some heroics, but Felix is gonna find it first. 3v5, and only Salt goes down for Kaiju Core. But Mothia has to give their life to take it. And in the end, it's just not enough. The stall's gonna come through onto Cozy, but it's only about a minute and a half that took. And now you have to deal with a 5-minute time bank and 1 fight remaining.
You can see the comparative of the Pharah play here. Salt already about 80% to Barrage, Lilac 47, 45, 50-ish. When we're looking at these 2 Pharahs, Salt is just getting considerably more spam in basically for free. What? And Lai is just struggling to find the angles that need to be taken to get that comfortable Pharah fire in. Especially considering that Lai is playing into a Genji. It should be significantly easier for this Pharah to find spam compared to Salt, who is having to play into an Ashe at the moment. But even in spite of that, it's just been free rolling for Kaiju Core so far. They've got all their ultimates, they're set up around the high ground, 60% to Barrage for Lai, 4.5 minutes to defend 10 meters.
Yeah, and they don't have any amount of space. The Diva just has to full boosters onto cart. Salt is gonna go down early, but look at that. 2 ults dropped in. Shy, Saturn finds 2, might just turn this around. Bob has to be thrown in onto cart. It's gonna be Lilac taken down 2, but a big ult investment that you really wish you didn't need to have, because Kaiju Core dropped a lot of ults in. You could have had the advantage.
I mean, for Kaiju Core investing 3 there, I don't mind. They had a bunch of time banks still left, and Orion only having to use Bob and Diva Bomb to be able to hold what seems to be an impossible situation. I feel like that's the best you can ask for at the end of the day. If you were using fewer ultimates, I feel like Kaiju Core just had the opportunity to turn it themselves, and Orion now get to come back in with the rush, with the beat, with the barrage. Tangerine doesn't have one to match, so they can take full advantage of it.
And that they will. Probably looking for this early rush. It's gonna be the beat out from Kaiju Core MX. It's an aggressive beat, and these ults that they have that are so important, they aren't gonna do them a darn thing if they can't use them in the end. And there's no one there. The rush is gonna come in, but it's only gonna benefit the baby Diva, and it's a tragedy to see check marks for the defending team when the round ends. That's going to be GG's in chat as Kaiju Core MX take a solid win over Orion. Expected, but you wished for just a little more.
I was a little bit more dumb than even I was expecting, to be honest. From the way that sort of start of round one looked, I thought, oh, maybe this is going to be even, maybe this is going to go the distance a little bit, I think, as well. Sorry and Lai were able to play more comfortable heroes, but it just kind of felt like a loss of confidence towards the latter half of that. Lilac going over towards the Pharah, a hero that they've mentioned themselves they don't feel particularly comfortable on, and we saw the result of it as well. Just compared to Salt, it didn't look as good. It didn't look like it was a comfortable choice for Orion or for Lilac in general. I feel like there was the opportunity to just play like a Genji Ashe and essentially mirror and counter at the same time. But I don't know, I feel like Orion can take this and essentially go, okay, we know what we don't want to be doing now. We know what doesn't work. Not using ultimates in last fight is essentially, always a thing that you can't do. Like, you just pull them, press the button. If you Ajax, if you die with Barrage, that's fine. You weren't going to get another fight with it anyway. You got to at least try. But no, I think from Orion, it's, unexpected defeat, but a little bit more crushing than perhaps was anticipated. They've got time to figure themselves out, and I think that they've got definitely the mechanical skill to be able to take it to the other Rising Series teams. It's just Kaiju Corps have that skill through Salt and Saturn. They've got the experience of playing together as a unit, and they've got the experience of being in tournaments, being on broadcast, handling all of this already. This is not an uncomfortable playing field for them whatsoever. So the Kaiju Corps, it's just a matter of keeping up the strength that they've shown here and continuing to assert their lead over the rest of the Rising Series. And for Orion, it's back to the drawing board, figure some things out, maybe get a little bit more practice in and figure things out from there.
That it is. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be sticking with Orion to see if they can take that advice to heart, and most importantly, to my mind, if they can do a bit of a mental reset, because it's gonna be very easy to get boomed after that match, because you knew that you were not favored for that, but you really wanted to be competitive. You really wanted to make it close, and you had the opportunity, and it slipped through your fingers a little. What you can't do is let that impact your next match against Krimdra. You cannot let match 1 turn into match 2, turn into match 3, because that's how you end up spiraling. So hopefully Orion can hit a big old mental reset, and we'll see if they can do that when we come back from break. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with the second game of the NA Rising Round Robin Series. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon. A battle of mythological creatures awaits us. We've got Orion Overwatch versus Crimson Dragons, aka Crimdra, coming to you live from the Kunoichi Krush, the NA Rising Division. And we've got quite the interesting, yeah, Willow, you see what's making me laugh. It's got to be the incredible lineup of Crimdra.
To be honest, it tracks. This is another team with kind of just a few hodgepodge Rising Series players all thrown in. Dizzy is here. She's historically been basically a Ryan one-trick, and I know that Vigil is sat on the sidelines, who is also historically a Ryan one-trick. Layla here, former main support, currently going to be playing flex DPS for this. Mostly plays Mercy, a little bit of Lucio thrown in. Chibi and Neko, I believe, as well. I believe flex support and main support. Unless I'm entirely mistaken, I believe that Chibi will be playing flex support for the team at the moment as well, as Nightwing is also going to be coming in on the Cassidy. As far as I'm aware, Layla is the only member of this starting lineup who is not actually a historic member of Crimdra. However, Crimdra have, in previous Rising Series tournaments, struggled a little bit compared to the competition, so I think in general they are going to be punching up to a lot of the opposition going into Kunoichi Krush. Compared to what we saw from earlier, Orion OW, they, even if they have a few people who are off-rolling and are struggling to find the tempo in that they don't have a tank player and they don't have a flex support player, just people who are playing those for this tournament, I guess. I think on a sheer mechanical level, there should just be a bit of a gap between Lilac and Sorry and Nightwing and Layla, who, to be frank, Lilac and Sorry are at the top of Rising for their respective roles. Salt and Saturn are basically the only people who could hold their weight against them from the competition today, so if Crimdra are able to really take it, if we see Layla May diffing Lilac's May, I'm not going to hold any punches, okay? I'm not going to pull punches on anyone's May. I saw you on the Rising Chord saying that you wanted me to roast you. Fine, I'll roast you a little bit, but at the same time, just don't get my Lilac too bad. I like them.
Oh, that's the problem with being identifiable, Willow, with having a brand of being the May player of Rising and being a caster. You do have the statue behind you. That's the thing. You start to be identifiable, you start to have a brand, and people start to take advantage of that. And people start to torture you by showing you bad play of your favorite hero.
Look, it's their tournament.
Hopefully not
They're the ones
too
that are
bad.
throwing it. I don't know what to say, you don't want to win, that's fine. You play the hero badly and I'll roast you for it, if that's really what you want. But, I'd be mean to you anyway. It doesn't have to be on broadcast.
Wild thing to admit on live broadcast.
I love them. I love my Rising Series players. I love them all a great deal, and I have huge respect for everyone who plays in this division. It is kind of difficult to be in the position of knowing there's like a whole bracket above you of players who would just trample you pretty much any day of the week, and yet also put in all the time and the effort to scrim, to improve, to really work to be at least somewhat respected within the scene. From all of these players, I cannot offer anything but my utmost respect when I'm being sincere. However, I will just be mean to them at any given opportunity.
However, the time is not right to be sincere. It is time to do some memes. I'm starting off with Control. Control, of course, being our set map for the day. It's going to be Oasis, keeping that rotation from the open division, so keeping on Oasis, and it's an interesting one. I think that Control is definitely a good one for a team. Control is actually going to be really hard for a team struggling to find their tempo, because I feel like you're going to get really punished if you don't have a solid idea of your tempo on Control.
I think that it's largely composition dependent. I think what Orion really need to do whilst they're in this current stage of trying to feel out the pace that they want to play at is play heroes that feel relatively comfortable for them. I think the Winston was a really good look for Cozy, actually. I quite liked that. And for Shy as well, I think like Shy's Kiri got caught out a few times, but generally wasn't too bad. Mothia sticking on the Lucio as well. And then you can just have like Liloct and Sorry do what they're used to in a dive composition. I think it gives you enough of an option of like when you want to go in, when you want to get out. You've got the short cooldown cycles that you don't have to worry about being super punished, unlike things like the Nemesis form and the May Wall, which longer cooldowns, more punishable if you don't hit them properly. For Orion's side, I think just faster tempo compositions overall are going to be better for them because they're just a little bit more difficult to pick up on the mistakes on. From Crimdra as well, you basically know for certain they're going to be running a Reinhardt. If they're not running a Reinhardt, it's still going to be a Brawl. Maybe Dizzo does something dishonorable. Maybe we see like a Ram or an Orisa or a Malga, but essentially always going to be Brawl, most likely always going to be Rein. For Orion, that does give you options of just finding a nice tempo that you want to play at, finding heroes that allow you to play at that tempo. Even if you're struggling to like know when to back and when to go in, as long as you can go fast, that's usually enough to get on top of most Rising Series players. So starting out with Orion May, I don't love it. This is exactly what I said you didn't want to do, because this is just the more punishable way to play the game. I think you're going to have more difficulty finding this not just catch you out every single time. But, you know, I summoned it into existence, so shame on me. Curse me as the caster. Liloct on the May versus Layla on the May. Two players whose May play I would never want to see. Time to be nasty about it.
And you're gonna see them both at once. What a treat for me, and me only, because I get to watch Willow suffer and watch these May players play. As we get into that fight on the bridge, both Reinhardt's charging right into each other, and it's going to be Crimdra able to just get pushed into the side hallway there. And now Cozy right onto the Baptiste. Might need to draw out that immortality field. It's going to be literal me getting taken down, and Orion taking a very convincing fight win.
That was actually a nice wall from Liloct there. Cozy does get either booped off or falls off the side, but comes back in on the flank. The lamp has already been forced because of the May wall that Liloct was able to hit. This is the kind of play that you need. Even if you're, 30% behind your hit scan player, you did your job well enough. I'll let you off for now as Crimdra. Going to be rotating lower this time to try and force Orion to meet them. Orion a little bit lost as to where their opponents are.
Oh, Orion, they have quite well found them. The wall not going to be enough to separate this team. Maybe just delay them for a second, but Nightwing gonna get charged immediately. Shatter from Dizod. Land onto a few, will get Cozy. But Dizod gonna get taken out. The damage just too much from the Cassidy and the May. Sorry, has the Deadeye for next fight. A lot of ults for Orion.
And a little stagger onto Chibi as well, who's still only 82% towards the sound barrier. You wouldn't have minded keeping the Lucio around as a pet for a little bit longer, but taking up towards 50% of the control point, you don't mind letting that one go. You managed to get the Earthshatter out at least, and it means that Orion are basically coming in with 5 ultimates now. Mothia lagging behind a little bit in terms of sound barrier ult charge, but when you're taking less damage and just kind of having Crimdra engage onto you, it's understandable as to why your Lucio in particular is struggling comparatively.
That does make a lot of sense, trying to stay on the heels. Layla is one of the few ults there, beat and Blizzard thrown in onto the high ground. It doesn't really end up working. Literally gonna get taken down. And sorry. And the rest of Orion doing pretty well. Dizzo D is still on this field, starting the point capture. Gonna try and force Orion off this high ground. Holding up the shield. There's no supports there. It's just the tank and the DPS. They'll take the high ground and they'll start to roll through. They have an opportunity here to keep pushing through, and they're going to start the cleanup. They're going to take down Sorry. And now as the Reinhardt rolls through, they've got a very advantageous fight. Blizzard thrown in, and it's going to catch out both supports on Crimdra. So this point cap will be short-lived.
The Deadeye was available there for Nightwing, but just decides not to pull it in the end, and it means that Mothia is able to get the sound barrier out for free as well. That was turnable if you don't let that Lucio get that, but shoots give away his position. Now you're at 95%. I don't think anyone from Crimdra is even going to be able to get back in time. You don't have anything like the Sim TP to quick rotate, so as we reach 99, and no one from Blue is there, Crimdra have the first map of Gardens, starting to run away from them. Orion in general looked pretty good. I saw Liloct die with Cryo there, just kind of face tank a Reinhardt for a little bit, but that's okay. Honestly, I'd probably do the same in that situation, so I can't roast them too hard. Dying with cryo is something that I don't want to bring up now, because otherwise Lilac will bring it up to me in scrims all the time. I think that moving away from this May composition, though, will 100% go in Orion's favor. Lilac opting for the Tracer instead. I think if we saw Cozy on the Winston here as we go towards City Center, I think that's probably a better look overall for Orion, but it looks like Cozy wants to continue to mirror the Rhine for now. Layla as well, going over towards... Nope, never mind, baited, sticking on the May. The question is, what is Sorry going to pick? We saw a moment of Cassidy, then a little bit of Farah, now on the Ashe too. Looks like we're going to be sticking on that for now as we just posture up around low ground, as we can see Orion, Crimja, already having the fast rotation to the jump pad.
And they're going to start to take high ground. It's going to be a bit tough for DizOD to really get the value that you want out of a Reinhardt, but Layla and Nightwing will be free to take all the advantages that they could want and more. Shooting from above as point capture starting to go the way of Orion. DizOD just charging in, and Nightwing going to find the follow-up. Traded out is Chibi. And Cozy in a bit of trouble. DizOD just in the back line, really showing off as this Reinhardt of Crimdra almost to shatter already. That's going to be an ult that I don't know if they're tracking in the charge. DizOD on the Rhine.
Lilac, wanna talk me through that one? I think what Orion's doing at the moment is struggling because they're running what we saw last series, actually. There's kind of like a Reinhardt with the Tracer as like an off angler rather than May to put wall pressure in. But Crimja just running something more traditional. Even if Layla's not hitting every wall, it's enough pressure to just allow DizOD to keep throwing themselves body first into the enemy. And Orion don't really have anything that can easily punish it. The cast, not enough damage, no May to try and catch him out, and the Shatter is just fully lined up.
What an incredible shatter, just knowing exactly where Orion was going to rotate. Just incredible out of DizOD, and Crimja really well coordinated, and they're showing with this capture percentage.
I think Cozy needs to start switching away from the Rhine if they want to be able to like stay competitive in this map. It has not looked particularly convincing so far. I like the angles that Sorry and Lilac are taking. This composition that Crimja are running struggles into the angles, but if your tank is just getting face tanked by a Rhine every time, it's not going to make any difference.
Oh no! What a tragedy! Layla throws out the Blizzard. Cozy's Shatter finds 5, and... Don't play in traffic, kids. Orion is gonna land the Deadeye, but that Shatter from Cozy lands all 5, but the Blizzard freezes up any follow-up.
Yeah, I feel like there was probably the potential for either the May Wall or the Rhine Shield to simply block that particular Shadow, but it was a nice Blizzard nonetheless to try and counter any push follow-up from Orion. The Rhine pin into the car is just the cherry on top to seal it, and now Orion have the advantageous position for their casting to play around until Sorry decides to go on a mission and drop from it.
The Mortality Field has to come out early from Shy, from a good wall from Layla. Isolates out Cozy, escapes instead. Crimja rotating around to this left side. Deadeye online for Nightwing. We'll have to see if they can get that speed boost high noon combo, which has been advantageous in the past. Shatter, jumping Shatter, lands onto both the supports. Stylish out of DizOD.
Cozy reacts in time to be able to block it, but is strafing away from the sightline that will protect their supports at the same time. A mix of both, hey guys, don't stand in front of the Reinhardt if the Reinhardt has Shatter, and also, hey Reinhardt, don't walk away from your team if you're going to block it.
DizOD still remaining on the point. What looked like a one fight for Orion for a bit, now might be turning around. Okay. Comboed. Shattered, pulse bombed, good night. That's one way to clean up.
And it means that Orions have been able to hold the point for this entire time. Crimdra never flipped from that fight, so now 85% and building its last fight territory for Crimdra. The only ultimate they have is Nightwing's Deadeye, and maybe close to the Kitsune Rush as well, as we can see the Casti posturing for the high ground, but the sound barrier is already there to match it.
And it's Nightwing with the Deadeye, lands it onto Shy, as that Immortality Field won't last them long. There goes the charge deep in from Cozy. Deadeye from Sari needs something big, and it's going to land. A double pick for Orion as they look to get this first map secured. Sari going to take down the Kiriko. It's just Nightwing. And in the end, Orion take map 1. Close fashion, but they have a controlling lead.
Yeah, I think this is what we wanted to see from Orion in general, being able to play around the mechanical skill that they have, and oh god, this is going to be held over me forever. Lilac on May? What did you even do? Oh, okay, so you blocked the pin by using the cryo. You didn't block the shadow, by the way. That already got your tank, and then you just ran around holding M1. Yeah, okay, fine, I guess. It was fine. It was fine. It was a fine play, okay? I saw you block the charge, and I was like, oh, nice job. You didn't just perma-feed. I guess you can have that, Lie. Are you happy? Huh? You better be. No, I think this is what we needed to see from Orion.
This is aggressive energy.
What was missing. What was missing from last series was this general sentiment of, if we just have our team play what's comfortable for them and maybe get a little jiggy with it, we'll be okay. I think there was just a little bit of lost confidence going into Kaiju Core, a team that was able to appropriately respond to the kind of sheer comfort picks that Orion would usually like to go for. From Crimdra in general, I mean, it's people who are off-rolling. We've seen moments of nice tracking and aim from Nightwing, but it feels like overall we're seeing Dizzy just pin in on Reinhardt, flip a coin. Are they punished? Yes. They lose the fight. Are they punished? No. Shatters 5. And it feels like the coin has just not been landing on heads as much as you would be wanting for from the side of Crimdra so far. Orion have not really had a consistent response to this really aggressive Reinhardt, beyond just having Liloct and Sori live for a really long time and then try and clean up fights afterwards. It was a really nice Deadeye from the high ground, but, you know, we also saw from the same side Crimdra, literally me, just holding Kitsune Rush for the entire round. Didn't use it once on City Center. So, you know, I feel like if both teams just kind of locks in, properly treats this as like, hey, we gotta really use what we've got here. We can't hold ultimates. We can't just go silly mode. I feel like we see a bit of a closer match coming through. As we're going to be going over to King's Row next, I think if we see the continuation of the Rhine Duel, this is the map you want to go to, but I still don't think that that's in Orion's favor.
Yeah, speaking of going silly mode onto King's Row, that is the map that we have seen the entire time, and almost the entire time. It's been that and Hollywood, and there's obviously the reason for it. We do have a swap coming out with Synox coming in. I like this. I like the idea of swapping Synox in for Crimdra, trying to make a swap. And as we go into the smoggy streets of King's Row, something has to change for Crimdra.
Yeah, I don't hate this. I believe Synox also just main support player, but I believe Chibi just kind of there maybe is like a slightly less comfortable pick to just be on the Lucio the whole time, or maybe now the option for like flexing over to a Brig or a Mercy potentially. I'm not in as familiar with Crimdra's roster as I would be for other Rising Series players, so we'll see exactly what it is Synox wants to be doing in this as we get into the map. Orion, no changes. I believe that if they keep Shy on the Baptiste, it's maybe a little bit more comfortable. Again, we've seen just general like discomfort on these heroes from Shy as they are still trying to make the transition away from raw hit scan onto now flex support. Whilst the aim carries over, a lot of the positioning and playmaking that you want to be doing on these heroes does change as you go between roles. So starting out with Cozy's Reinhardt, Lions, sorry, maybe playing some kind of poke just to see if they can find an early pick, but I'd imagine that's going to be swapped too to something a little bit more traditional as Crimdra running a full spam with the Junkrat Farah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck with some kind of hit scan here just to try and something like the Ashe to really, really punish the Farah Junkrat double projectile as Dizzo D gonna get taken out. There goes the charge, and Mothia gonna have to deal with a Reinhardt in their face. Nightwing on a bit of a flank, trying to deal with the Widowmaker. Maybe not the wisest character to try and play that angle with. Will escape with their lives, but not with the point recontesting coming.
Which is a nice wall from Liloct to be able to isolate the Reinhardt at the very start of that. Dizzy is going to have the opportunity to maybe come back in, but yeah, the pin's not available. Had to use it to get back from spawn fast, so no touch available. And Orion now capping out first with 5 minutes 40. It's a huge time bank Crimdra have Archway control at least, but they have no Mei to be able to fully take advantage of it, so it's just another free wall for Lilox.
Oh, it's a free wall, but Cozy's gonna be the one to go down. It's DizOD who loses LOS with their healers for a bit, but they're still able to stay up and stay alive and take out Cozy. Maintaining Archway control, Crimdra might have something here.
Lilox caught out on the high ground, now just having to deal with Joker. Everyone is there. Everyone is watching this Mei play.
Everyone is here.
Chase, are we finding Lilox? No, not in the end. It's just going to be more spam in from the high angle from this Junkrat though, so early window to try and force Crimdra back.
Riptire in from Layla. There goes the Immortality Field. It's only the Immortality Field. Big shatter out from DizOD to keep Crimdra in it. Cleaned up. Simple.
Considering what's being ran here, you'd almost expect the DPS lines of these teams to be flipped around. Okay, I actually like this from Sorry a little bit more. It's the one thing that Kiriko struggles with in these Reinhardt compositions is properly sustaining through these long fights. Baptiste can rotate the lamp, can rotate the regen burst, and has a really high neutral heal output. Once you've got window, it's doubled effectively. Okay, Lilox, you didn't mean to cryo there, did you? You've given away your position, now everyone knows you're here. The assault configuration comes out early from Sorry as well, so it's just free spam from Crimdra. Nightwing's very low at least, but it's going to be a while before Orion can re-engage.
Yeah, they're just going to have to take a second. They're engaging all the way around. They're completely wrapping, ignoring Archway. Shatter landing onto 3. Cozy, these Reinhardts. It seems that they can do no wrong, Willow. Barrage in from Nightwing. Lands onto the Immortality Field. Draws out the beat. Crimdra has some chance, but Lilac with a headshot onto the airborne Pharah, and I'd like to see a criticize that.
I mean, you know, the Pharah is just kind of hovering there. No, I'd like to, honestly, I would have liked to see Nightwing just fully engage onto the Reinhardt and try and clean up that kill. It's much more easy for a Mei to hit a mid-range Pharah in the air than it is for a Mei to hit one that's close up on top of you. It's just, you know, the long range suits Pharah, the on top shoots Pharah, the mid doesn't.
Blizzard thrown right on top of DizOD, shredded through. Lilacs coming up big for Orion. Layla's gonna go down. Sorry landed pick upon pick. 3 for Sorry. And you're looking for even more jumping in aggressively. Lilac taking 2.
Okay, we remembered in the end. Shy turns around. Thank you, Observer Cam, for pointing out that there was a meter left on that one. They just didn't cap. Crimdra, I mean, this is the problem. They don't have a Baptiste to sustain through properly. The sheer amount of damage that Sorry is now able to throw out and the pressure it puts on DizOD, who's been such a big engagement tool for Crimdra overall, means that Orion, they now have much more freedom to land these walls with a less experienced Mei player. A lot more freedom to have Cozy just go uber aggressive all the time. Layla's Tire might give them a little bit of an opportunity to set up for a Kitsune rush here, but you're playing around the mines.
Shatter goes right into the shield of Cozy. Riptire going right at the Bastion is an interesting strategy, and it does not work out for Layla. Sorry, shreds that Riptire. Now going to use the ult of their own. Gonna just drop it right on top of these supports. Cover the retreat. Take out Literal Me. And that's just Orion OW pushing through. They're gonna start covering these doors. Cozy with the Shatter. Cozy's waiting behind the corner. Can they do it? Can they check their corners? Can they do what some Overwatch League teams cannot? They do not check their corners.
Oh, Suzu!
The Suzu! Freeze DizOD from the charge. It might not make a difference, but it might in fact be the difference maker. A big cleanse indeed as the Bastions face off. Sorry though, holding sway on the point. Literal Me's hands are shaking, and Crimdra, hold on.
That was... Oh yeah, no, I saw that coming from a mile away. You try and shatter on the Reinhardt before you get out the Suzu, you know the Suzu's gonna fall up. You go for that pin, it's always gonna get cleansed every day of the week. You have to just turn and go on the Kiriko first. I appreciated the balls of it though from Cozy. I mean, I like to see that kind of play. Orion now going back in with Blizzard and Sound Barrier. Crimdra don't really have a comfortable response for either if Orion just go very aggressive.
Oh no, the Blizzard on top of DizOD. Sorry's gonna get shredded. The Bob will be thrown out, will be burst down by Lilac. Great stuff to put it right into the shield. And now here comes the rush from Orion. Lilac gonna take out Layla. And now Dizzo D just trying. There goes the shatter, landed onto 2. The Lucio goes down. Crozy though is pretty low. Might get taken down here. Dizzo D has an opportunity to keep going to take out Lilac, but Lilac wins in the end with that DPS of the spray. It wasn't the 3 minutes that they had in that final fight, but a minute 43 is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's honestly a really comfortable time bank to close out King's Row third on, especially considering how often Crimdra were coming back. Orion were still struggling a little bit to clean up those fights. They were doing a pretty good job, I'll be honest, but at the same time, Crimdra just kind of kept trickling back onto the point, staggering it out for a little bit longer. You could have gotten a faster time bank, I feel like, but you're not unhappy with what you've achieved. 1 minute 43 is a comfortable position to be in. On Crimdra's side, I feel like they need to recognize that continuing to run this Kiriko, whilst it might be a little bit more comfortable for literally me, is not going to work out in the long run. The sheer amount of damage that Orion would be able to do, and I feel like Sorry's cracked the code in just running really high damage output compositions. I hope Willow has liked my Mei. I even die with Cryo just for her. Yeah, I saw that lie. I also saw you use Cryo for no reason on the high ground and give away your whole rotation. It shouldn't have worked because of that. But hey, if Dizzo doesn't start blocking some of these shadows, I was expecting the Ryan one trick to be comfortably dealing with Cozy, but it feels like both Ryans just been throwing those suckers out, and it's been landing left and right hooks on the jaw every single time. Ryan, I like what they've figured out. Crimdra, I think they need to make a change. Literally me starting on the Baptiste, I think, is a really good look for them, because if they just play a normal Ryan composition with a comfortable Ryan player, I think this is going to work out significantly better for them.
What are they cooking here with this Symmetra? Are they looking to TP onto the opposite high ground? What are they doing here? They have the TP ready. The wall's going to come up. So half this team stopped from the rotation. Posey looking for a very aggressive one. Oh, the wall comes through. Lucio able to support Cozy for a bit. I'm interested that they didn't try and turn around and punish that there, but they will get the rotation onto high ground. They sure are in high ground. Good job, champs. What now?
I mean, you're really looking to play around your Mei wall, but Layla used it early, so at this point, all you can really do is wait for the cooldown to come back. Maybe you can set up a TP to get on the flank around Statue if you really wanted, but it really is on Crimdra to pull the trigger wherever they want. We can hear Cozy spamming, "Are you chicken?" as they can just see their opponent sat up on the high ground. When are you going to go for it?
Well, there they go. They aren't chicken. Dizzo D taking a lot of damage, giving their healers a heart attack. Big wall coming out from Layla onto Cozy. Cozy gonna get stunned up and taken out, but so is Dizzo D. Both Ryan's gone. It's just the DPS that supports the duel on the point, and it's Orion coming out on top so far with that. Fairly even. Sorry, jumping right on top of the point. Just the Lucio there to stall out, but it will be just a bit of a stagger onto the Lucio. There you go.
Almost gets double fire struck as well. Misses the Lucio once, misses the dynamite afterwards. Unfortunate, because Sorry was spamming in damage that whole fight, has been able to keep up with Liloc's Mei. Lai has been hitting some decent walls to try and punish these rotations that Crimdra are doing. Nightwing needs to be utilizing this TP to try and circumvent that, but it feels like it's not happening. Layla is in no man's land right now. I would have loved to see a wall to punish that.
A very interesting rotation. Dizzo D, very aggressive. Cozy with the shatter onto 2. Nightwing gone. Beat thrown in just a bit too late for Synox. And there you go. Blizzard thrown in late from Layla. And it's going to be a defensive win for Orion.
I don't like that from Layla. I'm imagining you're going to make some swaps now. Nightwing has gone over to the Reaper. I think... Yeah, the sound barrier I can understand, but the Blizzard as well, you're probably looking to change over here, surely, yeah. There's going to be the Junkrat coming out. I don't necessarily love this pick, but at least you're going to be able to spam it a little bit easier, maybe break some of Liloc's walls a little bit more ease. Early Blizzard comes out from Lai, but should be able to be counted out. No, okay, the pin from Cozy is enough to seal the deal. Nevertheless, it doesn't actually burn too much time off the time bank. If Crimdra can just get out, they're going to be able to come back in for a fast reset. 30 seconds is lost. Nothing too much compared to the Blizzard you were able to get out of Orion or W.
Absolutely. I mean, the Reaper Junkrat, I mean... I don't know. I am speechless about this DPS comp. Maybe it'll end up working for Crimson. It's definitely, it feels like a comfort pick, as Lilac's gonna end up getting shattered. Bob thrown in, window in very deep. Dizzo D taken down by the dynamite, and it's Orion still holding sway as the wall and the shatter used for Crimson. They don't have much. They don't have anything in this last fight.
Yeah, if it's any consolation, you got everything but Shatter from Orion, so if you're able to block it, then it's kind of free. Maybe you can build up to like a Tire or a Blossom or a Nano in the mid-fight, but when you're playing this Anabaptiste, both of them are trying to do the same thing, so Synox's Nano is going to be really difficult to build in these last 10 seconds before OT starts to tick down.
Oh, Cozy waiting in the wings again. There's no way they haven't noticed. No, Reinhardt. And the wall's gonna come up. I think it might have protected Dizzo D from the shatter. Synox is gonna go down, so there's no nano there. And it looks as though Crimdra are banging their heads against the wall. Orion completely able to hit a mental reset and turn their fortunes around. It's Orion with a dominant 2-0 victory over Crimdra in just really a change from what we saw in our first match.
Yeah, and I think it is a large part because of Sorry's Ash in particular. Lai did a really good job on the Mei. I'll acknowledge when my teammates do better than perhaps I've seen them do previously, especially when they are running it down in my ranked games. But Sorry basically uncontested on the Ash, infinitely more capable of poking out, especially the Reaper and the Junkrat swaps, than anyone from Crimdra was able to contest the Ash. If you're just going to run like close range spam heroes into a composition like that, but not force the Ash off the high ground, yeah, of course Sorry's going to land every dynamite. Of course that Bob's going to ruin every rotation. Of course you're just going to get shot in from afar every single time. And Sorry's hitscan is nothing to scoff at. I think that now that we're kind of entering an Ash heavy meta, especially with Casti now being also a pretty comfortable choice, realistically, it's going to be difficult to find something that Sorry isn't comfortable playing from that hit scan role. It's just a matter of trying to make the positioning that Sorry wants to sit in a little bit more difficult. And I feel like Crimdra just kind of let them have their way with the team every single time. And yeah, that's going to be how it goes. Even if you're flank shattering, even if your flank shatters are getting blocked by your own Mei, you know, it's still going to be, at the end of the day, a little bit difficult for you to match teams that are as comfortable as Crimdra should be on the Reinhardt. But if Crimdra aren't going to be like contesting the players that are really making the difference in these fights, I think it's going to be just enough for Orion to be able to cross that finish line every day of the week. This has been a good showing from them, and it'll be interesting to see how they do against some of the tougher opponents. I think this has given them a good metric for what the upper expectation from Kaiju Core should be, and then perhaps the lower expectation from Crimdra should be. If they can find a balance where they're able to perhaps like punch up into that second place seeding position, I think that'll put Orion in really good stead. And for Crimdra, I think this is maybe a marker for them of, yeah, our composition is perhaps familiar to us, but we've still got a few people who aren't used to the team. We're still doing a little bit of off-rolling. We need to settle on what it is we actually want to run and how we want to run it in these maps before we look to be completely content in what we're doing here.
Yeah, and that's going to be it for match number 2. Two fairly solid, dominant results from, well, each of the teams, from Kaiju Core and from Orion OW. So we're going to take a quick break here, Willow, and when we get back, we're going to be bringing in a new face, just one, in on the play-by-play slot in for me. And we're going to continue on through round 3 and round 4 of the NA Rising series. So we're going to take a bit of a longer pause. When we come back, more Overwatch action coming your way. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm not crazy, Malin. I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 40 years. 40 years.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
All right, and welcome everybody. We are back here with another set. I am Thousand Eyes here with Willowtron, who I believe you were here earlier as well. So
Oh, yeah,
we're
I've
just
been on
continuing.
for-
You're going the whole mile here, but we have another set here for you between Fable Rising and Kaiju Corp MX. And how are you doing today, Willow?
I'm feeling excited. This is probably the heavy hitters teams that are going to be going against each other. Fable Rising, my former team that I was playing on during Major 3 and the LCQ last year, versus Kaiju Core MX, who we saw earlier today in the first round of Rising Series. They have been a team that has been around for a long time. They have performed phenomenally throughout the Rising Series circuit so far. Fable Rising, they've got a few swaps coming through. Obviously, I'm not on the roster, so they've had to find some other people instead. We can see Megalass, actually, the caster, and Moonlight's both there. Moonlight's I have played with in scrims, can just kind of hit shots. Is like a really competent hit scan player. Megalass as well, going to be confident on the comms coming in as a caster. Pasta, my current tank for Lava Lilies Rising, going to be coming in for Kunoichi specifically, with Queen Bee reprising her role on support, this time playing the Lucio. No more double flex for Bee and Monica, and Najila or Monica going to be coming in on the flex support, a comfortable role for her. If we see Alari, you know that she's just trying to hard carry the game, but more likely that she's going to be sticking on the Baptiste. I don't know. Monica has like 3 hands when playing that hero. Everyone in the Rising series is about as scared of Monica's Alari as they are of my Mei, so it's like the two of us on the same team was just kind of PTSD inducing, I feel. But now you've got a chance to maybe get them when Fable Rising is still trying to build themselves back up again. And then on their opposition side, Kaiju Core MX is going to be coming in. It's the same people that we know and love. Holocron AIM is going to be here to start this time, so the starting main support player for Kaiju Core is going to be available. And then it's Sandbox and Saturn. Sandbox maybe going to be starting for now, or Salt is still there in the wings, ready to come back in as we saw earlier, with Felix and Tangerine as the common core that we are used to from this team. Starting on map 1 of Nepal, I think, as our round 3 set map for Control. I think this kind of plays into the kind of style that Kaiju Core enjoy doing. The fact that they have scrimmed for so long as a consistent team and know each other so well, I think is going to put them in really good stead on a lot of the Control maps, especially against these kind of roster mania-ified Kunoichi Krush Rising teams who have little players from other teams all picked and chosen from random spots. I think Fable Rising do have a really difficult match ahead of them, but if they're able to come out on top of Kaiju Core MX, it puts them in really good standing to be definitively the best team in the Rising series right now. For Kaiju Core, it's the same deal. If they look dominant here as they did earlier against Orion, they are indisputed as being the number 1 dog leading into Kunoichi Crush.
So I think really the question then kind of does become, like you said, there's a little bit of roster mania. Like how familiar is everybody with everybody else, right? Like is there team cohesion in a shorter amount of time? And some players work well under that kind of pressure. Some players really kind of don't there. We'll have to see how things work out in that sense here. Like you said, first map should be getting underway fairly shortly here. But any other final words here before we get into it?
I mean, I think, like you said, it's a matter of cohesion. Kaiju Core, absolutely nothing to dispute there. That's always been their strongest point. Even if they've not always been the most mechanically strong team, the fact that they've worked together for so long, it just always gives them the advantage against other teams. For Fable Rising, I've gotten to scrim with them a few times. Queen Bee's PC was out of action for a few days, so it's even less experience that they're going to have in scrim with each other. I think Pastor and Monica work really well with each other. Megalas and Moonlights have been able to just kind of hit shots and do massive amounts of damage in the scrims, both, relating to the role and just in general to their opponents, but I still think it's a whole different ballgame when you get into an actual official, especially when you're on broadcast as well. It'll be interesting to see whether Fable Rising are able to keep their cool in a situation like this. Right,
yeah. I mean, like the nerves start to hit. You're in the tournament. You're actually trying to get further and further along, and you're always kind of double guessing what you're doing here. So teams have to stay on their toes here. I'm gonna be interested too to just see what kind of compositions we've seen. I did cast the Open yesterday, and we definitely saw some weird compositions. We had Sombra Bay, we had Wrecking Ball show up a little bit as well. Just obviously with the recent patch, things are a little bit in flux, and I think especially people are going to be trying different things to see exactly what happens. So I'm going to be really interested to see what comps we get here so far. Seems to be, for the most part, pretty standard.
Well, from what I've seen so far from Fable Rising, just from scrimming with them, Pastor has looked really confident on both the Ramatra and the Sigma. The Ram in particular, when coupled with a nice brawl, has been going phenomenally for Fable Rising. Megalas seems to like both the Mei and the Farah, so you've got the option of like the Brawlier or the Pokia style. Whereas Kaiju Core, as long as Saturn's in, they're going to be very comfortable running a Winston comp with the Saturn on the Genji. So yeah, Megalas going over to the Farah, I think, is a good call for them to just be able to try and poke out the dives before Kaiju Core can get on top.
Yeah, just popping the teleport, getting everybody in and following in afterwards here. And you can see already trying to take some space on the side here, as they are just going to get jumped immediately. They do have a Winston to contend with, and they've already taken down Sandbox. So that is one down, and that's just going to be the push here. Fable Rising trying to take out a little bit more. 3 gone. That should be an easy win fight here, as the first point now is going to go over to Fable Rising.
Yeah, a little bit of a stagger as well into Holocron AIM. Unfortunately, don't get the final blow, so no ult charge, and I think Saturn maybe just... Oh, no! Good stagger! That's the AIM goddess Monica coming through. We've seen this Baptiste play throughout the Rising series for a long time now, and little plays like that are what really turn it around. 50% already towards the amplification matrix, and Saturn now actually feeling compelled to move away from the Genji. Felix on the Ramatra now to mirror as well. It's going to be difficult for Kaiju Core to push into this, knowing that Monica is so close to window, but that makes it easier.
Yeah, they just jump straight in, all as 5. Take one out now. They are continuing forward. Saturn with another direct hit. Queen Bee goes down. They're pushing forward just a little bit more, and another kill onto Moonlights. A great response here from Kaiju Core. Take out everybody, push onto the point, and hopefully Yeah, this will be their capture.
It's just set and go kill yet again. Same on the Genji, same on the Pharah. Do it once, do it again. And now, roughly mirroring ult charge. Tangerine actually 82% towards the Kitsune Rush already. You don't usually like to play the Kiriko alongside things like the Ramatra, but if you can get a really early rush in this fight, it will give you the advantage you need.
Absolutely. We're just seeing now Fable Rising trying to push themselves back out here, being kept inside a little bit. Megalast goes down, and Fable Rising, the health bars are dropping. Not able to find a push out, and now they're just trying to stop the staggers, trying to get back over for a full reset.
Nice block and sound barrier from Kaiju Core to make sure that Megalast's Barrage doesn't really find any value whatsoever. I think the Pharah are just a little bit too close to find really good value in that kind of situation, but now it means that Kaiju Core are coming in with 4 ultimates. Fable Rising have 4 of their own, but what are you going to initiate with particularly easily? You can't use something like the Kitsune Rush. You have to push through choke to use Window, so I think a lot of pressure on Moonlights and Pasta here to really find value.
Yeah. A lot of pressure on the left side, so Fable take over to the right. They've swapped on to the opposite sides here. They're playing just a little bit distance from each other. It's a little bit of poke, seemingly trying to find their ways with some picks, and they do find Megalast. So Fable Rising already down 1, and Kaiju trying to push for it. There's the Kyrio moving in, and they're just gonna jump off the edge. It is a full reset now for Fable again.
Yeah, 80% in building, they didn't really have many other choices than that. Megalast gets caught out on the rotation. You kind of want your Pharah to be on an off angle, but later on in the fight than that, if the Pharah just gets caught out entirely, it is just an easy pick for Sandbox God on this Cassidy. So now Fable Rising, it's just have to go really hard, but no hope.
Big missile barrage, but it does get blocked out. Saturn now trying to back away. Very low, does go down. This could be actually a big turnaround here. Fable Rising take out 3. Or Kaiju rather, take out 3, and now Kaiju just trying to get this Ramatra off the point here, buying as much time as they can. They have to get more people around because they are losing members fast. And
You can see how desperate Monica was to just hold this amplification matrix, knowing it's the only tool you have left, and if you pop it now, it's an easy recontest. Kaiju Core actually opting to back out, knowing that Fable Rising have everyone back and that ultimate in the tool shed as well. It's a good play from them, but now Monica gets to go early with her ultimate for the first time this round.
Fable Rising used a lot just to get onto the point here. They still do have the window as well as High Noon. Moonlight's getting caught in a corner a little bit. Gonna pop the High Noon, but I don't think anybody's gonna go down. No, does get one onto the Lucio. Megalast does fall in the meantime, though. Lamp goes out. Moonlight's hitting shots real well right now, but can't stay alive. Kaiju Corp, it is 2 for 2 right now, but Kaiju Corp are losing a lot more health. That's a 3rd member down in Fable Rising. They have pushed off another advance.
And they still have this window. This was the first ultimate available in the round, pretty much, and we're still holding it all the way to 99.99. You have to do it now, but it's such a good angle to do it on. This is what we were waiting for.
And now they're pushing in. There is the window, trying to get in here, but they don't have a lot of other ultimates to use. There's just not a whole lot. And there is another missile barrage. The sleep does take out Saturn, though. And Kaiju starting to falter just a little bit. Fable moving forward, a missile barrage in response. And it will be Fable taking round 1.
That was just really nice play in general from Monica, who, I mean, it's running along the knife's edge, right? There was a sheer number of times that Baptiste was like 50 HP, close to being taken out of the fight entirely, but just holds on for long enough. The discipline to not be like, okay, we need to clean up this fight fast, recognizing, we've got point control, it's not the end of the world if we don't take this super quickly. I can just play for window next fight. Moonlight gets next pick, the early pick the next fight. Okay, well, I can window the next fight. You're able to just keep doing this for every single fight over and over until Kaiju Core have nothing left. They have no choice but to run it down through main onto the objective, and it just allows Moonlights and Monica to set up on the back with the window, chunk through the damage. Even the barrage can't find good value in the face of it. Just really nice play overall. Kaiju Core struggling a little bit more than perhaps I'd expected.
You see, same play here from Fable. Trying to get onto the point, but Kaiju do get there first. They're actually just keeping Fable inside the building here, not letting them get onto the main area of the point, and that's a huge defense there. It does mean Kaiju should have first pass at the point.
first pass and also the defensive position that they can play their Mauga around. You get to choose when you want to engage in for the brawl now. Felix actually opting to drop early to contest the objective, but it's going to isolate them away from the team. Good early pick, though.
They do just go in, get the kill, and that's kind of the... If that kill doesn't happen, you start to get a little worried for the Mauga, but Kaiju Corp do succeed, and now it is again the retreat. Fable cannot push on, and they need to regroup.
Pasta actually going to be mirroring the Mauga here. I kind of liked the Ram, or even going over to the Sigma, I think could work pretty well for Fable Rising here. Pasta, I don't believe is particularly comfortable in the Mauga. Lavali's Rising don't scrim the Mauga basically ever, so it's really going to be a lot of pressure here for Felix to not drop the ball here against what should be an inferior opponent on this mirror.
And now just right away and engage directly on, again, the place where we did see Fable stuck before. Saturn up above, just holding the high ground and not giving a way out. Fable again stuck inside.
Raj ready, setting up for it around main. Maybe he was looking for a flank, but actually Fable Rising already rotated there to match. But if they push through, it's a free barrage still for Saturn.
Ooh, there's the barrage, like you said, followed up with the Mauga as well. It's a bunch bird, but honestly, it's totally fine. They fully wipe there. Fable left with just Megalas, and Fable cannot find a way inside to this point here.
Yeah, and we can see Saturn going low, but with the Cardiac Overdrive there, the sheer amount of lifesteal it's giving, it's only 50% down from 60 previously, but it's still a lot for the Pharah to use during a barrage. Fable Rising, oh yeah, it's a significant amount. The Pharah is not dying, and it's 75% now. Fable Rising, they have ultimates, but they're still playing into 4 of Kaiju cores with no cage of their own. This is a difficult fight.
Kiriko ult used as well. Another missile barrage, this time from Megalas. Doesn't really get a whole lot. High Noon from above, dropping down, trying to grab a kill, and will get to. Grabs the third with the shot. And now Fable, again, looks like they're not going to find a way onto here.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they even had a touch. Megalas was kind of away from the rest of the team, had the opportunity to just kind of like go for a cheeky touch. The Pharah's probably going to die for it, but now you don't even get the opportunity for it at all. Tying it up 1-1 here on Nepal. This was the comparative dominance that I was expecting a little bit from Kaiju Core, but I think a lot in part exacerbated by Pasta going over towards a hero that she's just not as comfortable on. I would have rather see a full commit onto something like the Sigma, where you just play for the long range poke around that initial choke, or stick on the Ramatra. I think you played it decently in the first fight. You just needed to not take quite so much poke before you engaged in. Sticking on the Mauga now, it seems, as we go over towards Sanctuary. Not Sanctuary, sorry, but outside. Shrine. They both start with S. It's a difficult decision to make because you know that in the mirror it's at least 1-for-1, but I just don't think Pasta's going to be as comfortable on it as she needs to be to really make this work.
Final point here on the map. Both teams flying out the gate here, and again, Fable, this time, not as easy to get locked inside these buildings. They do find a way out, and they're actually first on to the point here, so Kaiju are going to have to play for the retake, and right now, Fable, what we saw was them struggling to get out. We'll see how they can handle once they're finally out and on the point. Now fully breaking out Saturn again, still just hitting these shots on the Pharah. We'll back away for some heals, but it is 2 down already. Sandbox did trade 1-for-1, but right now it does seem like Fable have been able to control this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty well done from considering Moonlight goes down early as well. Megalas was also TPing out with the Sim, but then switches over to the Mei, who is very slow. Doesn't have the Lucio speed to try and bring the Mei back fast, so there was a lot of opportunity there for Kaiju Core to take advantage of the weakness that Fable Rising were kind of displaying, but now, like we said, defensive position found. It's going to give Fable Rising a little bit more opportunity than they had in the previous round, and maybe Pasta starting on the Malgras allowed for this. It's just, now they have to respond to whatever KCMX do.
And Megalas on the Mei now, trying to just get in and buy time, but the grouping here from Fable is just hard to deal with. Saturn is going to get behind here. Big missile barrage will take down 3. Almost gets the 4th. Will get it with the rocket. And Fable just completely removed from the map.
I don't hate playing the Mei here, but you have to be doing so much poke to make sure that the Pharah can't just get on top of you for free, that the Mauga can't just get on top of you for free. I think like a Mei Pharah could potentially work if you're really confident that you're going to hit those walls. But when you're running like a Cass Mei and the Pharah isn't getting poked out, if you're running a Cass Mei and the Mauga's not getting poked out, there's basically no reason to keep going with this composition. I think you land Blizzard here, swap over to the Pharah for Megalas, and just go for a full mirror.
It is gonna be up to them to try and find some way back into here. Jumping in, there is the Kiriko again here from Kaiju, pushing in a Mail as well. Might open opportunities here. Do get a couple of freezes, but they don't really get a lot of kills. There is the second there. Tanks falling third down, and Fable, they are gonna retake here. Again, it's just back and forth between these teams.
Yeah, they're very evenly matched, which is really nice to see. Honestly, we've seen a lot of 2-0s today so far in both the EU Open and then the NA Rising. So both these teams able to go pound for pound. It's really encouraging to see. And you did it off the back of Just Blizzard. Megalas didn't die, so going to be still on the May for now. Maybe looking to use Wall to disrupt the next engagement from Kaiju Core as they set up from the low ground. But Fable Rising have 4 ults to use.
There's the Deadeye does grab one. Saturn grabs another. We do, unfortunately, get the Ajax there, and Kaiju taking out 2. Just chasing down the last couple of members here. They will, again, it's just swapped back. Once again, they get control of the point.
Decent percentage tick up nevertheless, considering you lost the fight as soon as B Ajaxed. That's my main support player, who is actually a flex support player and is off-rolling for this tournament. Kaiju Core, they were able to hold ultimates for it as well, so the Deadeye from Moonlight's, again, it's load-bearing. If Fable Rising are unable to land this, then Kaiju Core are going to take the comfortable lead, and it's going to be last fight territory. They kind of want to go quick here, so they get 2 decent fights.
Missile Barrage opened up with, does get a lot of damage now, but doesn't get a lot of kills. Will grab one, there's a second as well. Trying to find the last couple of ones. Saturn just chasing him down, running full bore into the enemy team. And that will be almost a full wipe, just one member limping back to base, and now Kaiju feel like they can cinch this.
Yeah, I mean, those prolonged staggers means that Fable basically just don't get a touch at all. I was desperate to see the Deadeye come out, but I don't know if Fable even make it to the point.
Oh, wait, they did get there. We do have Queen Bee on, it does contest, so we are in overtime. Now trying to stay on here, do get one. This is actually Kaiju winning this a little bit, but it's back and forth still. There is Saturn trying to get away, will get sniped by Megalast, but now there is a big Mauga on the point here, just Queen Bee, it's not enough. Here comes the Mauga on Fable. Pasta trying to find a little bit of extra time for the team to come around. And here comes the Tracer as well. They have fully swapped. We are just in complete buying time mode. But they do finish off the Tracer, and overtime will go over in favor of Kaiju, who take the map.
I feel like that was really nicely played in tempo overall. An Ajax happens, okay, it's not the end of the world. Whatever, we get it. There's the play of the game from Monica going to be coming through. I'd imagine this window that was all the way back on Sanctuary. You can see the good value that we were waiting for literally 200% of the objective. Nevertheless, we were looking at Moonlight's Deadeye in particular for that second to last fight. The barrage comes through and the Pharah goes really low. The cage fight actually isn't protecting the Pharah either, so there's the opportunity to just pop Deadeye, basically immediately kill the Pharah, and know that that pressure is out of the playing field. Pasta's incredibly low from the barrage damage, but the Tsuzu was really well timed, to be frank. Fable were able to turn that fight around, but they end up losing it, and then they don't lose it quickly. They keep trying to run away, they stagger themselves out, and all they can do is desperately try to touch. Even if they were able to come confidently back onto the point, maybe they wouldn't have had a clean fight, but we saw how close even that last fight was, even in spite of how desperate they were trying to get there. If they'd been able to just take it properly, died quickly after the barrage came through, maybe it would have been fine for them. Maybe they would be 2-1 at the end of that map rather than 1-2. Nevertheless, it's a first to 2 series, so now it is just, you can't afford to drop a single other map as we go over to our next map, Midtown.
Yeah, we will be heading to Midtown here for our hybrid map. Kaiju up 1-0 here. Now, it does now mean that Fable are up against the wall, and granted, the first map went back and forth almost in as much as much back and forth as you could really possibly have there. So obviously Kaiju Corp, they do get the win and they do feel strong going into this, but it's not like a definitive victory, right? It's not complete control of the series right now, and there's a very strong chance we could go to a third map here.
I think especially with the starting on Midtown, this is going to favor Pasta's hero pool a little bit more. I think the Mauga struggles a little bit more on this map compared to Nepal, and you're going to be able to run things like the Sigma or like the Ram that I think Pasta is just a little bit more experienced on. Megalas going to have to struggle a little bit less to get good value from the Mei. I think it puts Fable Rising in good stead. I like this map pick from them, and honestly, it would be their map to lose, I would say. I think overall I'd favor this team and what they've shown us a little bit more as we go over to Midtown, just off the fact that they are comfortable running comps that complement this map a little bit more. So by the end of this, if we see a 2-0 Kaiju Core win, like I said at the start of this series, it's undisputed at this point. Kaiju Core are just the best team in Rising currently, but if Fable Rising are able to turn this around, yeah, I think this is close. I do think we are seeing the two, perhaps, grand finalists already in this third round of Swiss.
Definitely. I mean, I hope so, right? That was a great map. It was just super fun to see the teams go back and forth. Pigeon with pizza.
Pigeon with pizza.
Great time.
What topping do you think it would like?
I'm assuming that's pepperoni. So, like, I mean, I guess, like, you're asking what it would like. I don't know if a pigeon would like pepperoni. That seems a little spicy. I don't know how birds handle spice. I don't know anything about birds, actually.
Completely clueless on birds. Oh! Eclair. Look, these ones are going hard on the eclair.
Okay, I know they like
way better than the
sweets.
pizza.
Like, that much I know.
Like, did you see the pizza one was barely pecking. These guys, they're loving that.
I'm concerned how close those pigeons were to a tire that seems to be sucking in air. that is
it's just
like a plane engine waiting to happen. This guy's chilling.
It's just a bit of a dumpster.
Love
it. Okay, Pasta is going to be starting out on the Sigma for the attack side. Fable Rising opting to attack first, actually, and Moonlight's going to be starting on the Ashes. Megalas goes to the Echo. I think this is kind of a sneak preview of a very meta composition. I still think Farah is really good, but we do see teams on occasion still preferring the Echo to just match the Farah, and there you can see why.
Yeah, you say Farah is really good. So far, the stats don't seem to say as much. But that will just be quick reset there as Fable Rising do get control here. We can see already onto the point here as last couple of members here chasing around. Kaiju Corp holding the line, but not enough as Fable Rising seem like they're going to pick up the first point. It will be contested a little bit here. Sandbox comes around on the side. We'll grab one. Continue on for the rest here. They're just kind of ignoring the Soldier here, and Soldier able to put out a lot of damage, not able to win the fight, but does take a couple people down.
Moment where Pasta's considering staggering the Baby Diva, but wait, no, we have to cap the objective. Can't do that if the Baby Diva's alive. I guess I'll finish them off. 5 minutes 30 time bank for Fable Rising is really confident and is in large part due to the combination of damage that Megalas and Moonlights were able to do onto Saturn starting on the Farah. Got a little bit over aggressive with the spam, got caught out for it. You want to be taking those longer angles where the Echo and the Ash can't quite so easily chunk in damage onto you. Now, Fable Rising posturing around as Felix goes over to the Winston, actually. Saturn now on the Echo as well, mirroring Megalas. I think from Fable Rising, this just means that you want to play really slow, poke out the dive, so the Winston can't run in for free.
Yeah, well, Kaiju obviously do not want that plan to exist there, as we do see Najila go down. That is one pick already, which will stagger Fable just a little bit here, as they're still going to continue to try and push up poke, see what they can get, but they are just waiting for that full team to come back.
Felix holding close still I really like, honestly, from this perspective, because the Winston does just not have to worry about the poke.
Oh, there is the dive in. Felix again trying to jump in. Megalas still alive, kiting away. Is going to back away fully, but they do lose their tank. They do lose Queen Bee as well, and Fable pushed back once again.
But it costs ultimates each time, right? Tangerine there using the Kitsune Rush, whereas Fable Rising just used nothing, and sure, you've burnt down 1 minute 30, but there's still 4 minutes left on this time bank. Fable Rising aren't really feeling the burn from this. They're happy to take these quick fights where they just get a clean reset and wait for Kaiju Core to make a mistake that they can exploit.
Right, we are almost at 5 ultimates here for Fable Rising, so they are absolutely just biding their time, looking for the right moment, and here it is. They're just going to pop Bob and go in. All the ults starting to come out a little bit here as Soldier will take down one. Felix still pushing in. Pops the big monkey, tries to go further into the enemy team and just hold the line. Kaiju Corp will eventually back away, a little bit limping here.
Yeah, and honestly, good picks. Felix still taking damage even now.
Oh, no.
Megalas maybe gets a little bit greedy with that one. Got to make sure that you're not getting caught out on that. The staggers that Fable Rising found onto Kaiju Core should have been a good opportunity, but now more ults forced just to stop Felix bullying the backline.
Felix does go down. And again, like you said, ults burned. That was the window gone. Queen Bee gonna have to wait a little bit for another one of those. High ground being held by Kaiju here. Fable know that they can push up, though. They do have time before Felix continues, and you can see finally getting themselves out on top of this bridge.
Oh, and Holocron, Aim, and Tangerine going down too. The full backline from Kaiju Core is dead, and yeah, Felix just leaving here. Saturn manages to trade back onto a healing pylon, but that's basically it, as now the Echo just desperately trying to get away from the onslaught of Fable Rising, closing in on that Echo's position. Felix maybe gets a recontest, but there's a Flux in the monkey's face.
Only grabs the monkey. Oh, but does get the kill with it at the same time, so Felix gone. And now Fable Rising getting a little bit more spring in their step here. It was a close defense, but Fable Rising now able to push forward, and as long as they take out this Lucio, will be able to get on to the next point here and get a little bit more time for themselves.
Yeah, cap found nonetheless, so 3 minutes 30 to assault all of third. Third of Midtown is one of those hybrid map points where it's just notoriously difficult to get a comfortable slot in towards the end, but the respawn's at least a little bit further away than some of the other hybrid map types, so Fable Rising definitely have it within their grasp to make this. Felix, Felicis, and Saturn now actually going over to this Zarya Reaper just to try and run in.
Now pushing forward here, Felix. Zarya trying to hold out, but not exactly the easiest thing here. Kaiju with the Reaper as well. Now able to find a little bit of ground here. Have pushed Fable back just a little bit, but again, it is ultimates used here. Fable still do have a lot in the tank.
This is a classic from Kaiju Core, and you'll be able to see why as we just see Felix building up to 100 energy, and then Saturn goes in with a bubble and kills 4 as the usual strategy.
Oh, Lamp also used here from Queen Bee and Fable. They're struggling a little bit now. They have found themselves space to go in. There is the beat dropped for Kaiju Corp, and now pushing out just a little bit more. Kaiju Corp, they get their defense, and again, I feel like I've seen this before. Fable just cannot get by some of these choke points.
It's burning down the time for Kaiju Core, so I don't dislike it, but again, it's costing ultimates each time. No Deadeye Online, no Rush, no Beat now. Fable Rising basically have 4 ults for free. All they have to worry about is a Grav and a Blossom. That should be easy enough for them to deal with if Pasta just manages to discipline cooldowns.
Once again, peeking around here. See what can be found, but it's tough when you have to walk into the close range of this Reaper. There is the ult from Reaper used, does grab 2, but Najila returns the favor here. Sandbox trying to win the fight, cannot, and Najila, big ultimate to give the team kill over for Kaiju Corp.
Like I said, if you just see a moniker on the Illari, you're expecting her to just kill everyone in the lobby. That's 4 kills for the Illari player in that fight, and it means Pastor and Moonlights get to hold on to both the Bob and the Flux. Kaiju Core, they're cycling ultimates, but one at a time means they don't stack them, and it's not leading to confident fight wins.
Bob used again, does get pushed behind a wall, so not horribly useful, but still does take out Felix, and there is this Flux from the Sigma. Fable Rising again have their ultimates ready, like you said, and they are able to push Kaiju Corp again back one more time, and they don't really have a lot more time to hold on here.
Oh, we can see Pastor trying to posture up to make sure that the Zarya can't walk in for free. The Rush and the Graf both do come out, but you've lost the Tracer and the Zarya at the same time. Now Tangerine falling as well means that there's no real healing for Kaiju Core. Hollow 80% to a sound barrier, but it's not going to be enough. Moonlight's uncontested on this Ashe, just slowly finding the cleanup on the objective. Kaiju Core are desperately trying to defend this as the Malga runs back in, but surely they're just going to pick them off.
No, they don't have the health bars. The timers have been good. Kaiju Corp, they actually get the chance to push away Fable Rising. Venture comes out as well from Saturn, and they get enough mobility. They buy enough time. They even use the Lucio drop to get a little bit more time here. Fable Rising still trying to hold on here. they're just getting pushed back really hard. We're in overtime now.
Overtime, and Felix is down. Tangerine soon to follow. Another captive son comes out from Najila. Quickly going to be picked up onto that Lucio. Surely, it's just a Venture. Surely we are able to clean this one up. The Venture low taken down. Another Bob comes out from Moonlights.
Tracer?
Sure, the Trace is here, but no, there's no hope. The Bob is there. Even if the Malga tries to come back in, the Sigma's there to match. Not enough time. I feel like Pasta could have held a little bit more aggressively on that second to last fight just to make sure that no touches came through whatsoever, but was a little bit too slow to it. Goes on the wrong side as the Zarya realizes, oh, the Zarya's walked past me, gives chase, and it just allows the rest of Kaiju Corps to walk in for free. There was the opportunity to punish the Kiriko. Nevertheless, capping in overtime, like we said, Midtown is a difficult map to find third point on. It's impressive that Fable Rising were able to do it nonetheless, especially considering how efficiently Kaiju Corps was cycling ultimates and holding those defensive choke points earlier on in the map. From Fable Rising, I don't think you're going to be unhappy from that. And now for Kaiju Corps, it sets the pace for how well they need to do to be able to keep themselves in this chance for a 2-0 win in this series. If you go for a 1-1, sure, it's your map pick, but Fable Rising will then have proven that even with a slightly different team, even with people who are coming in on slight off rolls, you're still not able to cleanly pick up the series and not cleanly able to pick up these maps.
Yeah, now it took a lot of time. It took till overtime for Fable Rising to get there. Now, the onus is on Kaiju Corp. Can they do the same thing on offense, but just a little bit better? Can they get there a little bit sooner? And Kaiju Corp, I mean, for a while, I thought they were going to be holding off from Fable Rising even getting to that final point. So we'll see if they can make the magic happen.
I like what Kaiju Corps are doing here with the Sombra Genji. I think it's really good to just try and punish the greedy backline of Fable Rising with the Baptiste Ilari. But if you get spotted out, or any kind of poke onto the team, it's never going to work. Najila finding the initial pick onto Felix Felicis. Yeah, it's just going to be really difficult for the Sandbox God to find anything that SMG damage, doing basically nothing as the Genji of Saturn, also forced out by a nice dynamite from Moonlights.
So first push from Kaiju, not successful. And we'll see if they stick on this composition or if they would try to switch things up here. Because
there's the Zarya actually going to be swapping to. Saturn's going to be sticking on the Genji for now, but you can still find good value with the bubbles if the Genji goes in. Moonlight's finding nice poke onto this, already forces a bubble, and the Genji too.
No.
This has been phenomenal play so far from Pasta, Moonlights, and Megalas, who are just out poking every single time.
yeah, it just feels like Kaiju cannot find a way in. They're getting picked every single time they get around. And Fable with a very nice defense, a much more solid defense than we saw from Kaiju Corp when they were on the other side.
I think this is what the Sigma composition really does well, and is having these stronghold defenses. Oh, Megalas getting a little bit aggressive, but no, tempered, plays around the fire truck as you want to, and yet again a nice pick onto the Sombra.
But still pushing forward, Kaiju Corp have found a way onto the point. The problem is, do they get to stick on there here? Felix is full charge, and that is a lot of damage there. Megalas going down as well. Fable Rising have lost a couple of members, but it's not enough because Kaiju Corp, they have lost their front line here. And Fable Rising, again, they've been holding out. Here comes the Sombra to try to even things. Flux is ready from Pasta. Are we going to get it? Does not even seem like it is needed here. Not going to invest it, as Pasta will be able to hold on just barely. And Fable, again, a wonderful defense.
And it puts a lot of pressure on Pasta when a Sombra is on the field, because you know, if you do pull the Flux, it's probably just going to get hacked out. It's really difficult to shield dance around a Sombra hack, especially once EMP is eventually online. It's going to be incredibly difficult to get off a good Flux. So for Pasta, I'm looking to see her just kind of pull it when it feels safe to not get hacked and die. On this corner, I think is the only good chance you're going to get.
Grouping from Kaiju. There it is. I don't know if it actually grabbed. Does get hacked anyway, so it doesn't matter. Sandbox able to stop that one. Will go up top here as we still see Kaiju trying to go forward. Queen Bee does go down. Gila, the only support left, and here comes the Blade as well. Saturn chasing down the members of Fable way back beyond the point. A great offense here now. Kaiju finally find their way in, and they will cap the first point.
Yeah, I think Pasta recognizes what she needs to do just a little bit too late. The remaining members of Kaiju Corps have already pushed past that corner, so instead of having a nice corner hold where Kaiju Corps are forced to walk back, instead they get the option of just walking forwards out of the flux, and it allows Sandbox God to find the angle to be able to hack the Sigma out of flux easily. Queen Bee also getting picked early means no opportunity for a window to come through. I think the Baptiste needs to be playing a little bit further back. That pick from Saturn was just a little bit too easy for the Genji to find, but again, as Fable Rising are just trying to find their footing here, I think this defensive position overall is going to do well. Remember, it was 5 minutes 40 for them, only 3 minutes for Kaiju Corps.
Fable Rising now again. And we see a similar level of defense. Remember, last time Fable really struggled on this section of the map here. Took them a while to reach this first point. EMP is going to be used. It's going to drop people down to the ground. Their lamp will buy a little bit of extra time. Get some people out. Zarya now left alone as the front line here, putting out a lot of damage, but do see Tangerine and Hollow go down. Kaiju go a little bit too deep, and there is the grab as well. Pasta does get a couple of kills in Fable. They do back out enough to turn the fight around.
It cost them 3 ults, but honestly it was really nice tempo play from them. Megalas using the dupe to go onto the Zarya just to make sure that there was no further value found. It was only the EMP from Sandbox God, but you were always expecting that to be a difficult ultimate to play around, and having it just cancel Captive Sun isn't the worst thing in the world. It was a nice lamp from Queen Bee in response, and I think Fable Rising are happy with that.
We do now see again Kaiju trying to push forward, but Sandbox is already down. Saturn soon to follow as well, extremely low. Felix moving forward as well, but again, DPS not really there. Hollow is lost, Tangerine is lost. Both healers down, and Kaiju have to retreat.
We can see how mindful Felix is being of Pasta's kinetic grasp to make sure that the Graviton Surge isn't eaten by the Sigma, but it means that in this poke-heavy composition Fable Rising are running, if the Zarya just stands there and looks at a Sigma for a really long time, waiting for the hands to come through, yeah, the remaining members of your team are eventually going to get poked out. A lot of those bubbles were selfishly used by the Zarya players, so Felix either needs to just pull it early and hope for the best, or, I don't know, maybe just ignore the Grav altogether and play for something else entirely.
Kaiju going for a little bit of a different move around here. Trying to get a big flank off here. Coming around from the side. They're actually going around. Teams again swap sides here. We've seen this multiple times, and now there is the Kyriel used as well. Jumping onto the back line is Saturn, but there's the lamp to get them out. Saturn now has Blade ready, but I don't think they need it. They've already taken down 3. Moonlights and Nagila, the last one's alive. And soon to go down as well. Kaiju find their opening.
Kaiju do use both the Kitsune Rush and the Sound Barrier. It was a really nice map flip from Fable Rising overall to make sure that they still had control, and with only 20 seconds left, you're now in a situation where you've got the Gravitic Flux and Bob to use. Sure, you still have to deal with Blade and Grav, but 80% to window. If your BAP is able to stay up for long enough, you probably win in a long, drawn-out fight here.
Another grab used, followed by the Flux. Can they get the smash? No, they cannot. Saturn left barely alive there. Will take out 3 in the process, though. And Fable, their defense is crumbling. Kaiju seem like they are going to get this next point, and again, get themselves a little bit of extra time. We did hit overtime there, so they're not going to have a whole lot here. Only 1:30 to reach the end.
An overtime respawns for Fable Rising means that no one was able to come back fast enough. Queen Bee goes down early enough in that fight that maybe the Baptiste would have been able to come through quickly, but it was still expensive for Kaiju Corps. Saturn now going over to the Tracer, giving up on the Genji, means that no Pulse yet, no Grav yet, no Rush, no Beat. It's all back on Sandbox God's EMP, but again, it's the same situation. Megalas has dupe, B has the window. Fable Rising have the tools to counter this.
EMP used now. Kaiju looking for their opening, and what a good opening it is. Kaiju Corp just wiped the floor with them. They do lose Sandbox, but honestly, you'll take that one there. 1 EMP takes out a lot.
45 seconds. Good discipline from Fable Rising, honestly, to not throw anything in. I think in that situation, using an ultimate is probably the wrong play. Pasta actually switching over to the Ramattra now just to make it a little bit more difficult for this Sombra to find good value. And now that Kaiju Corps have nothing, it's a free window for Queen Bee.
Window used here, but Kaiju holding the angles really well. Sombra does get back out, and the window doesn't really get a whole lot of use here. Now they're able to get back onto the point here, but they are losing members fast. They've lost both their DPS. It is just Felix and the healers. And Kaiju do have to back away, but they only have 10 seconds here.
Megalas uses the dupe as well, so Vaporizing actually don't have anything to go into this, whereas Kaiju Core have the rush and the beat. It's going to be a desperate attack, but they've got the tools.
Yeah, they got in, beat used as well. They don't have the ult from Zarya. They do have Saturn here on the side, has the bomb, already takes down one, gonna take down another. Kaiju, they found the opening here, another goes down. They may be able to get to the point from here.
I think Vaporizing in the previous fight just pulled the trigger a little bit too early. They had the opportunity to use both the dupe and the window, but now they're going to be running in with overtime respawns, barely going to be able to get back in time. A boop from Lucio might stop it altogether.
No, they
1
didn't get there.
centimeter.
It's 1 centimeter away. Saturn has to back out. Fable have found an opening. If they can hold it here, they can take us to a map 3. Fable desperately trying to get themselves out Moonlights from the distance, and it feels like it worked, and it did. Fable with a literal 1 centimeter win.
I mean, that was as close as you could possibly ask for. It wouldn't have been like they were going to lose the map. We'd just go to rounds 3 and 4, but you're thankful to have it end here considering how good Kaiju Core looked. Fable Rising's attack, frankly, looked like it would be significantly better than Kaiju Core's, but I think just a little bit of tentativeness, a few instances where Kaiju Core got fights that realistically they shouldn't have been able to, a few ults the Fable Rising were a bit too nervous to pull for too long. It just meant that that huge time difference just didn't really amount to as much as you would have wanted in the end. Fable Rising, again, a little bit undisciplined at the end, pull ultimates a little bit too early, and Kaiju Core do a really good job of using their support ultimates in that second to last fight. It's just, you're going into a Captive Sun, you're going into a Bob, you're going into everything that Fable Rising didn't manage to build previously. 1 centimeter in it, but 1 centimeter was all they needed. So as we go over to Suravasa now, Flashpoint is notoriously tricky for a last map to be able to take, and I think it's where Kaiju Core, with their better coordination overall, might be able to come into their own, even in place of Fable Rising's incredible mechanics, as we saw from Monica picking up 4 at the end in that play of the game.
Yeah, a really great turnaround there, and Fable, like we kind of said, like, all right, it was a really close map number 1. Didn't feel confident that Kaiju would be able to just run around and take the second map here, but Fable just barely eking out a victory there. We're going to be going to our third map here, and I'm interested just because I have not gotten the opportunity yet to get to a map 3, so now it is both teams' backs against the wall.
Backs against the wall, but, you know, where the pressure's on, that's where you make diamonds. I think Suravasa is going to be a really good point for either Fable Rising or Kaiju Core to find their stride. If Fable Rising are able to make a map like this work, which, honestly, Flashpoint I'd usually say would favor the faster tempo compositions that Kaiju Core like to run, it's going to look really good for them. For Kaiju Core, again, it's home field advantage. They chose this map. It's not like you've got a huge choice between New Junk City or Suravasa, but it's something at least, right? You're going to feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that you're going to the map you wanted to play. So for Kaiju Core, I think the pressure's on to make sure that they don't drop out of this series into a Fable Rising team that, honestly, hasn't been playing all that much up until the last couple of weeks before Kunoichi.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Both teams have to feel like their backs are against the wall right now, and obviously it has been just a slugfest between these two teams. And with just the back and forth that Flashpoint can have, that just makes me all the more excited. Hi, buddy. How's it going? I heard we were going into game, not that we were going into the face of a pigeon. My bad.
You should expect the same. I'm pretty sure Orange is on OBS. Yeah, Orange and Cry on OBS. It basically means it's pigeon time.
was not prepared. Regardless, like I said, I'm really excited because Flashpoint is always just a lot more fast action, a very much more back and forth. Cool, you captured this point, but you now got to move somewhere else, which does shift things up and mean that where these teams have felt strong in controlling area, they now have to regroup on a different section of the map.
I think the compositions that we're seeing here are very reflective of what the team's comfort is. I'm just curious, okay, yeah, Megalas is going to be going over to the Pharah. I really like Fable Rising's composition into Kaiju Cores. I think it's just the stronger one overall. The Sigma able to poke out the Pharah more, and the Mauga. The Pharah able to poke out the Mauga too, and the Ashe just having an easier time at range than the Cassidy. If Fable Rising are able to get into position early, Kaiju Core are going to have a really difficult time assaulting this.
Yeah, it is just all about space taking here, and you can see immediately Kaiju going around for the flank here. Either team able to really cap here. Saturn trying to hold high ground up top, but taking a lot of damage, a little bit too much damage. And Fable, they take out one, trying to push forward just a little bit more. Health bar is extremely low, and Kaiju, they're just gonna get wiped. Fable win the first point here, and
Nice
will start
rotation.
capping up.
Really nice rotation from Fable Rising. They don't have the Lucio. They're sticking on the double flex support backline. It's greedy, but it's slow. The amount of damage and healing you're going to be able to do is good, but those rotations you have to hit perfectly. Otherwise, you're going to get caught out by the speed that Hollow can't aim is going to be offering to Kaiju Core MX. Felix, setting up around this mid area, it's just going to be free spam onto the Mauga. Surely, I would imagine that Fable Rising going to be building some ultimates off this.
Absolutely, here is Kaiju again looking for their angle, trying to find their way in. These points are capping fast here. We're already at 50%. Feels like Kaiju have to go in now if they want to try and go for another reset. If they want to try again. Kaiju, though, biding their time. Felix now trying to move in. Fable will back up just a little bit here. Again, taking to the skies is Megalast. This Pharah fight is going certainly in favor here of Saturn, and Saturn will get the victory there. Kaiju get a lot of victories across the map. Already everybody down. And Kaiju gonna recap here.
Just a swap of role there between Moonlights and Megalast. The Ash pumping in a lot of damage into the Mauga, which is fine, but the Pharah can just do it at longer ranges. I'd rather see Moonlights marking Saturn, which is just easier for the Ash to do, and Megalast continuing to chunk damage into the large hitbox of the Mauga. Instead, Felix gets to go in at full health. Still very far from Cage, but the rest of Kaiju Core's ultimate's basically already online.
See lots of ults already here for Kaiju Corp, and they're very close to the Lucio ult as well. They're going to use the Kiri ult to get in here, and you can see already working out. They're pushing away Fable. A missile barrage used, but not to much avail here. And Fable, again, have to back out and be defensive.
We need to see Megalast just spamming out Felix more. This Mauga can't be allowed to start on a short angle and then just get to walk on top of us. We need to be rotating faster and we need to be poking more, but instead from Fable Rising what we're seeing is just consistently Megalast is trying to take these weird off angles at the start of the fight, and it means that the Pharah's spam is just not finding good value. Megalast actually moving over to the Echo now. They would have an easier time marking Saturn, but this was something Moonlight should have already been doing in the first place, so I don't know if this is the change that's actually going to help the macro play. From Fable Rising's point of view, I think it's more that this Mauga is allowed to walk on you for free with full health than it is the Pharah just getting to spam in at long range, which the Ash should be able to contest anyway.
Yeah, and the scary part too is the point that we move to, Kaiju get the immediate first rotation. Or it's just very favorable for them. So again, Fable stuck here on the retake and have to find a way in. They're going to peek around, but it will be Kaiju grabbing the point first and holding defense against Fable.
And again with the faster rotations as well, this Mauga does just get to go in for free, even with Captive Sun available. Barrage finds 3. Is we going to say 4 from Saturn? 4? 5 onto the Alari in mid-air? No. Sandbox God steals it away, but a nice fight nonetheless. Fable Rising used both of their support ultimates. No more Window, no more Captive Sun from the greedy backline, and Queen Bee going to be swapping over to the Lucio, and Monarch are going to be taking the reins on the Baptiste. I think this is going to work out a little bit easier for them in terms of the rotations that they need to hit. If they'd had the defender's position already, I think it would have worked out, but recognizing they don't, I think this is a good swap.
Yeah, they do need just the ability to get in here, especially not having a tank that can just engage, right? Like, they do have to push in themselves. As now, Fable, again, just trying to move, this time from down below here. Pushing their way in. We do see Felix going directly in. Ults across the board for everybody here. Big Deadeye will grab one. Another kill from Sandbox. Sandbox getting 3 now. And again, it is just Kaiju wiping the floor with Fable.
Fable Rising, they don't have many other options than to use ultimates in a fight like that. Going 2-0 in the series is not good, but Pasta actually going to be sticking on the Sigma. I'm not sure I'm in love with. Kaiju Core have the flexibility of being able to throw 3 ultimates into that fight, because even if they lose the next Flashpoint, they're still 2-1. They only have to win 1 more now in this map before they take the series outright, whereas Fable Rising have to claw their way back now with only a duplication and a Bob. Kaiju Core aren't going to mind if they just let Fable Rising sink ultimates into this Flashpoint, and they just come back for 4th.
Felix already diving in here. We're going to see clone of the Malga, so it's just Malga v Malga. And maybe you don't need to swap the Sigma if you could just steal the Malga away. Moonlight grabs a couple of kills as well. Fable do win the fight, and finally we save Fable with a little bit of life.
But it cost them 2 ultimates, and that's the key thing, right? They used the Bob, they used the Dupe. Sure, they used them really early on, but it means that they didn't actually find much percentage off the back of it. Kaiju Corps can try and re-engage, or they can just use this flashpoint to stack 5 ultimates and then win the next flashpoint for certain.
They're already very close to 2 here. Saturn just got theirs, and Hollow also coming in. It's now Megalas still trying to get around here, but the big Lucio ult will keep the missile barrage going, and Kaiju Corp just cannot find a way in. No, they do actually, rather. Mixed up where I was, my apologies. Fable are again pushed off the point.
68% isn't bad, but again, Fable Rising's composition loves being the one that's defending first, and instead, we're going to have Felix setting up wherever the Malka wants to be able to run in for free onto the Sigma. This is looking like a dire situation for Fable Rising to be in. Kaiju Corps didn't need to invest, and it was very close, but for Fable Rising now, it's really coming down to the wire.
There's not really a lot of ults on the table in the next couple of seconds here. At best, we've got Queen Bee coming up, so Fable with definitely their backs against the wall here. They do have the Lucio ult to try and do something, and they're going to pop it now just to move in here. Some way to get into the fight, and it is helping. They do grab Saturn and Sandbox, and the rest of the team as well. Kaiju go down, and again, Fable, they find their way in. Honestly, I think the first time this map we have seen them retake.
Yeah, yeah, now that you mention it, I think it is, but Kaiju Corps, even if they do want to recontest this, they've now got ultimates online, or they can choose not to, like I said. They've got so much flexibility because of the composition Fable's playing and the overall macro.
Well, they're going to go for it here. They're diving in. They want to end this series now. Saturn is down, though, already, and Kaiju starting off on the wrong foot. Fable still up and healthy here. Megalas able to stay up, but a Deadeye comes around and takes down 2 on Fable. That could be the turnaround that they need. Sandbox still up, trying to pump damage in. There is almost Felix going down. Felix does fall afterwards, and Sandbox has been putting in work. And Fable will, unfortunately, though, be able to push them off. So that is going to be Fable grabbing this point, and we're going to be getting over to our next one.
An incredibly close fight, and it was all down to Saturn getting picked early. The Deadeye that catches both the flex support and the tank, that is, you're like, you can't ask for better from Kaiju Corps' end, right? If you're getting like early fight Deadeye that finds more than 2 picks, you know, you might just be the best player in the lobby, actually. So finding those 2 in particular is a godsend, even if you lose it.
Now they're going in, and we do see a lot of people falling, and they're all falling for Fable Rising here. Kaiju, they do lose Tangerine. Hollow also goes down. And a lot of people down. They do not have their healers. And Saturn and Felix, low health. So it's a little bit of an awkward situation. They will heal up, though, as Fable just going to full reset.
Potential for Moonlight to actually just sit there. Saturn and Felix were both very low. Sandbox not doing too great either. I think an Ashe headshot essentially kills anyone that was still in that fight, and if you find more staggers, it's just easier for your team to come back in. Nevertheless, what's done is done. So Fable Rising, it's trading Flux for Cage. You've got to beat now at least, but that's your only engagement tool, and you've got to take it fast. It'll be matched by Hollows. Oh, the boot.
Oh, I don't think it took anybody out, but it was very close. Now Felix frontlining again, and Saturn flying into the back line here. The Lucio ult does buy time. There's another boop, cannot get the kill, but they have already lost to Gila. Queen Bee very low, will go down, and Fable now with no healers left on the board here, but they do have to push now. This is 15% or they lose the series.
Yeah, there's really no other opportunity for them, and Sandbox God going down to Moonlight as well. This Ashe still relatively uncontested. The Malga runs in. There's the opportunity here. There's no ultimates for Kaiju Corps, but it is 99 for them. They don't have to push this if they don't want to, and Fable Rising, though they're going to flip, it's still a long build from 0%. Victory is not in their grasp yet.
Yeah, there is a strong pushback here. The Missile Barrage is ready, as well as Tangerine's ult on Kiri as well. So we're very close to some big fight ultimates, and the only thing that you have in response here is Megalas and Moonlights are close to their ults as well. I feel like Tangerines all can be a lot more impactful with how Kaiju have been playing.
In general, we've seen really good value from Megalas and Moonlights in combination, but you are playing into a very unfavorable situation. The Bob comes out early, but Moonlight's already taken down. You trade back 3, though.
Oh, no.
Kaiju Corps could just exit from this fight.
Again, Fable find their defense here, and kind of like we said, their composition does really well from a defensive posture here. They're showing that in this game.
Nevertheless, Kaiju Corps, they have the Kitsune Rush still. They didn't use the Barrage, they didn't use the Deadeye. You traded Bob for it, but Fable Rising aren't going to have time to build more ultimates if Kaiju Corps just go quick, so this is the real desperate last defense.
They will try to hold on. Deadeye going to be used. Does not get anybody, though, and it is the ult from Megalas as well. But now, Fable not able to hold ground, and that is so unfortunate because it is overtime. Megalas, the last one there, cannot do anything. And Kaiju Corp will take the map and the series between Fable and Kaiju.
I think it was a really good showing from Fable Rising, though, nonetheless. Going into a fight against Amalga, where the Amalga just has 3 ultimates, I feel like Fable Rising were figuring out how to play around this composition towards the end, but giving over the first 2 flashpoints already, it's very difficult to come back from that. And whilst they did play well into the team, they are going to be kicking themselves. I know Monica in particular is going to be frustrated at that loss. Fable Rising, though, for a team that is cobbled together from, again, another instance of roster-maniaed teams and players, I think it's a really good showing from them, considering they were able to punch and take us to a 3rd map for basically the first time against the team that we were expecting to be the favourites throughout Kunoichi Krush. I think this was really good for me. I really liked to see this, and it was heartening to see my former team still able to perform pretty well. I think they can use this as really good and valuable VOD material, come back in tomorrow or even into their next match later on today, and understand, okay, this is how we need to be playing, this is what we're really aiming for when we run these compositions, and with our better understanding of it against some of the best players that we could possibly be going against, now we're going to be able to come back in with confidence, and hey, when we see them in the grand finals, right, we know what to expect.
I think the biggest thing that I took away there, just especially from that last map, is just Kaiju finally looked to be in control of things. We kind of, like you kind of said, you expected Kaiju to feel like the stronger team to a degree, just from that familiarity around each other. 3rd map was, I think, the time where we finally saw that.
Definitely. And, for as long as Kaiju Corps are around, they're going to be coordinated with each other, and the way that they play around each other is just very clean. It's always going to be difficult to deal with. So being able to do just a little bit of damage to that, I think, is very impressive. But Kaiju Corps, they hold true till the end. They are just very dominant and very strong. They've played together for a long time, and they've got their main roster here, basically unlike every other Rising Series team playing in Kunoichi Krush. So yeah, if you're taking maps off Kaiju Corps in the situation, you're happy with that, but obviously you're happier if you're winning.
Yeah, well, Kaiju Corp do have to be happier for that, and congratulations to them. We're going to set it to a quick break here while we get ready for the next series, guys, so do not go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Apologies, I'm a goofball. That was our last series. I got pulled in very quickly. I was not prepared for that. The schedule did change, so apologies for that. Again, congrats to Kaiju. Willow, anything to say before we close off then?
I mean, we've got the rest of Rising Series coming in tomorrow. We'll catch you there. We've got the NA and EU Open matches as well. So there's still plenty more Kunoichi Krush to catch for the rest of this weekend. I think it's going to be exciting to see what the Rising Series has to offer, and I'm a little sad that I won't be there for the rest of it. But hey, you got me for all of today. I can see you all in the Rising Court, okay? I'm sorry that I didn't roast Lie quite enough for your liking, but we'll live with it. We'll catch you all tomorrow, I guess. Unfortunately, no more matches for us today, so we'll see you there.
Yeah. And have a wonderful night, everybody.